actually gazelles. I was waiting for you to notice. Drastic difference.
I've kind of done it actually.
Have you? These are so custom options.
I do have to.
These are my fancy ones.
Oh, yeah. So my
Way ahead of you.
Nope. Actually,
She was the only one ever babysit my kids.
Okay, council, you ready? We recording? Perfect. I'd like to welcome everybody out. Thank you for joining us. I always enjoy public involvement in these important issues. So with that, I want to welcome you as well as recognize the fact we have Councilmember Jackson with us tonight, Councilmember Scadden, Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Saxton, and Councilmember Paul. This is the Roy City Council meeting for May 6, 2025. Time is now 5:30. We've asked Councilmember Paul if she will go ahead and lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Sophie?
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. Consent items, council. We have a variety of meetings from minutes, surplus vehicles you've seen in the attachment packet, as well as the March financial statements. Any comments, questions, or concerns associated with these consent items?
Just a very few changes. And Brittany, I don't know if I actually tried to text him ahead. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Anything else? Okay, with that then, do I have a motion then to approve the consent items?
So moved with the minor changes.
Thank you, Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, consent items are approved. This is our public comment period. We invite you to step up to the mic, talk about anything you'd like to talk about. What we need is your name and your address. You have 4 minutes, please.
Blaine Esplin, 4523 Trailside Drive. I moved into the West Park neighborhood about a year ago, concerned about traffic and rail runner. Been speaking with Matt Andrews over the past 6 weeks or so. Some of the other people from the neighborhood are here tonight, have spoken with him in the past as well. We've talked about some of the mitigations potentially on 4000 South and 4800 South. At some point, Matt said, what about the rest of the neighborhood? I took that as a challenge. I did a survey and we did QR codes around people's homes. We got response from about 60% of the homes in our neighborhood. That's a good idea. Before the end of the evening, I will have those results to you. I will email you access to a Google Sheet. I would highly encourage you to go in and read the comments. That will give you an idea of what our neighborhood's thinking as well as our comments tonight. From that, though, I don't have time to talk about that survey. Love to come back and talk about it another time. But from that, people of our neighborhood expect the city, highly expect the city, to mitigate both the volume of traffic and the speed of traffic in our neighborhood as these rail runner apartments open starting in June. Let's talk about volume. The traffic impact study dated October 19th, 2023 assumed that the private drive or the north entrance to that would be open. There was no mention of Phase 3 traffic in that study. The city of Roy approved it, is my understanding, with emergency access only, meaning as long as we can get an ambulance and a fire truck in, we're fine. Well, how is it that this traffic study assumes that the north entrance is going to be open, and the city says, whatever, long as, and as my understanding is, you won't push for that to be open, and you won't hold back occupancy permits if it's not open. And so, why hasn't a study been done with just our neighborhood, just the one entrance? That's kind of interesting. Now let's, that being said, there is some goodwill and some good things happening that assumes that that north entrance will be open. I understand they're going to pave it about the 15th of May. The developer, a little bit of conversation, a little bit of correspondence there, has said that yes, we plan on opening it, but there's no guarantees. There's nothing written, there's no guarantees, there's no nothing there. And here's another thing. The neighborhood, expecting that this will be taken care of, there's some things that we expect before this Rail Runner development opens, before the first resident ever moves in, before that first occupancy permit is ever met. One is that the north entrance is paved, it's opened, it's unobstructed, no construction equipment, people can get in and out of there. Number two, work with the developer to make sure there are signs at the north entrance. We've had a wooden sign at that south end saying, this is how you get to Rail Runner, coming now. There's nothing at the north entrance. I realize that's a private road. There's nothing there. Also, the signage, if you go on their website, it's not there now, but everything says, oh, you want to get to Rail Runner, come through our neighborhood. Why not? And they need to put that in there for their renters, that there is a second entrance and exit. Also, continue to work with us as we have. We've had some good interactions with Matt on mitigating traffic and speed. Phase 3, there has been no traffic study done on Phase 3. Please, please, please do not approve anything more on Phase 3. Our neighborhood will fight Phase 3. Do not approve anything more on Phase 3 till a traffic study is done. We are a neighborhood of 67 households on a dead-end street, about to have the traffic of up to 282 apartments come through our neighborhood. Whoever thought that was a good idea? We all live in the community. I understand you guys live in the community. We all want the same thing, for it to feel safe on our streets and for our people. You're civic servants. I appreciate that. Thank you for running for public office. Thank you for serving on the Royce City Council.
Okay, thank you. Name and address, please.
I'm Bob Nightingale, 4601 Southwest Park Drive. I got 5 key points that I want to discuss as far as the trail runner and everything associated with that. Number one, a public safety risk. A single access road poses a significant danger in emergency situations. If the road is blocked, whether due to an accident, fire, or natural disaster, emergency vehicles may be delayed or completely unable to reach residents. This not only endangers those in the new development, but also put current residents at greater risk. Number two, increased traffic and safety hazards. Routing apartment traffic through our neighborhood will drastically increase the volume of vehicles on roads not designed for such use. This jeopardizes the safety of pedestrians, particularly children who play or walk in the area. Speeding, noise, and congestion will change the character and livability of our community. Number three, strain on infrastructure. Our roads are not built to handle high-density traffic, including service vehicles and delivery trucks associated with multi-unit complex. The result will be faster road degradation, higher maintenance costs, and more wear on public utilities and resources. Number four, impact on property values and quality of life. This kind of development risks lowering nearby property values by introducing constant traffic, noise, and loss of privacy. Residents chose this neighborhood for its quiet and safe environment. Conditions are now at risk. Number five, and my final point, is inadequate planning and long-term concerns. A development of this size with a single road in and out reflects poor urban planning. It lacks the flexibility needed to accommodate future growth and fails to follow best practices for traffic flow and emergency preparedness. We urge the city to require additional access points to this development, whether through a second entrance or by redesigning traffic flow to prevent burdening existing neighborhoods. Thoughtful planning now will prevent costly and dangerous problems later. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, name and address, please.
My name is Bryant McMillan, and I live at 4614 West Park Drive. I've been a resident of West Park Drive for 7 years, and during this time, my family and neighbors have been aware of the Rail Runner development, but the details are always murky. The number of new residential units has always been unclear, probably on purpose. Information has seemed to be closely guarded or very ambiguous, as if to hide it from the public, and any specific details have been dynamic and keep changing. I've been to meetings, I've voiced my opinion, I've sent letters, and all of my attempts have been dismissed and ignored by Royce City officials. Many of my neighbors have been getting the cold shoulder as well, and the only ones giving me any kind of response has been the fire chief. I want to make it clear I don't care much about my house value, which will be dropping significantly thanks to this poorly planned Rail Runner project. What I do care about is the safety of my family and my children and my neighbors and our quality of life. It's my understanding this Rail Runner development project came with significant financial kickback to the city of Roy. It appears that more units were able to squeeze into the little area, the more lucrative it would become for the developers in the city. Needless to say, the city sold us out. Hundreds of new units are being built. This was never ideal, but it wasn't a major problem for me until I found out about the access issues. All renderings and communications that were seen by me and by my neighbors indicated there would be 2 roads to access the neighborhood. The existing one coming from 4800 West Park Drive and the north entrance connecting to 4000. I've recently met with the city planner and he said the north entrance was never really secured. This was a bombshell revelation to many of my neighbors and I. It almost seems like the North Road was deceptively added into the developmental renderings and talked about constantly just to sneak it past approval. And I'd like to also add the city planner will not answer my emails. He was glad to chat in person off the record, but I feel that he's worried about responding to me in an official email could put himself or the city in an incriminating position. The single access point via 4800 is not acceptable. It's some of the most poor planning I've ever witnessed in my life, and I've spoken with other city planners and doubt the development is legal under the circumstances. It's impossible to access our neighborhood when trains are slow or stopped. Traffic gets backed up all the way through the roundabout 4800. I've heard attempted rebuttal that there will be crash gate that people can access to the north, but I want answers from the city as to what happens when a single train or multiple trains block both crossings, as they are not very far apart, and this frequently occurs. Our neighborhood is isolated. It's already dangerous. Our concern is speed. Construction crews speed right now, and we have a lot of children in our neighborhood. I can only imagine what's going to happen when thousands more residents are speeding through there. I've seen traffic backed up along all the way through the roundabout every single day, and no matter all of these safety concerns that we have, this project just chugs along, damn the consequences. It's clear the city doesn't have any safety or quality of life of its residents as a priority. And if action is not taken to open up another access point to the neighborhood and mitigate traffic and safety concerns, it will end in inevitable disaster and lawsuits against the city. Aside from this being a safety issue, it's also a quality of life issue. To make matters even worse, they're talking about a phase 3 development which will add even more housing units and resulting in more traffic and liability for the city. I know I don't have a lot of time, but I want to leave you with something to chew on. And I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. Let's be completely honest. This development would never have happened, or it would be significantly different if it were one of the city council or the mayor living in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, my neighbors and I are not part of the hierarchy. We're just regular people with regular families trying to live a happy life. I would ask the city officials if they care about the well-being of the regular citizens and being good stewards of the city, please stop ignoring and brushing off the concerns of the residents. If you take your sacred duty and to the community seriously. Don't be the stereotypical elected official no one respects and everyone pokes fun at. Serve with dignity, integrity to the community you're entrusted. Do something that will actually benefit the residents. Please start putting safety over financial gain. Stop phase 3. Please get us another access road secured, even if it requires eminent domain. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else like to share a thought? Name and address, please.
Richard Dunlap, 4623 Trailside Drive. Concerned but grateful citizen. I do appreciate all you guys do, and wouldn't actually want to be in your place, but I do appreciate what you do. I'm also here about the Rail Runner development, and how did we get here? How did we get to where close to 300 homes are being built at the end of a long stretch of road where children are now playing in the streets? Well, UTA, of course, dangled some money in front of us, and I agree, 5,600 needed to be fixed. It's bad, and I'm happy to see that coming along. They required this because they want high-density homes by train stations. So I'm sure that it was in our interest to get that done, in the city's interest. But I mean, we're of course at the mercy of this. Some of these before me have said, the May 2023 plan showed an exit to 4,000 south. So let's keep that, please. Also, I just want to highlight that how dangerous 4800 is. As you drive down 4800 South, you'll know what I'm talking about. About 10 seconds, as you approach the tracks, you'll see that your view gets blocked because it levels out. About 10 seconds by my estimates today, you're at the entrance to the West Park neighborhood, and immediately a lane opens up on your left and cars start to veer to the left. About 5 seconds later, after you pass the entrance to the West Park neighborhood, you're at the crosswalk. We've had accidents here at the crosswalk. I don't believe any of them recently have been fatal, but it's a matter of time. It really is. And I think everybody here knows that we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Leaving from our neighborhood right now is bad enough, but imagine 4 times, maybe more, the traffic. We're going to have people getting impatient. It's just human nature. They're going to want to dart out, and then what happens? Maybe somebody veers into oncoming traffic. I don't know. I can't say. But it's going to be dangerous. So I feel some questionable decisions have been made, but that genie can't be put in the bottle right now. So what can we do? Let's make sure that this neighborhood, our community, is as livable as possible, please. And let's make sure that there is another entrance, exit at 4000 South. And let's mitigate the traffic and the speed going down West Park Drive, be that with flashing signs, trees, or other methods. Please take into account our concerns and our quality of life. And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, name and address, please.
Kimberly Flannery, 4688 Southwest Park Drive. According to an official government website where you can find an overview of the state under the category Household and Families, in the state of Utah has the largest household size in the country at 2.9 per household, and for completeness, that's compared to 2.5 nationally. This is not to be confused with the size of family, which is even larger. Alongside that average, the average amount of cars per household is 1.8, and more specifically to the metro area of Utah is 2.1 per household. That's according to the data of Data USA. With the new developers, according to their website, 221 townhomes being built in our currently single entrance, single outlet neighborhood, we are adding a substantial amount of traffic to our neighborhood. According to that data, that's an average of 464 cars every single day in and out of our neighborhood. As a resident of this neighborhood and one of the first houses completed in the first phase of the original Sierra homes built along West Park Drive, I personally have witnessed the further your house is into that neighborhood being built, obviously the more traffic, but also the faster and faster cars go. And that includes UPS drivers, FedEx drivers, USPS drivers, and especially construction workers. When you don't live in your neighborhood, you have less concern for the things going around in your neighborhood. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here. Especially with being a dead-end current neighborhood, there are several children on a daily basis playing on their bikes, scooters, and playing with balls that they more freely would play in the street right now than they would if it was a through street. I'm certain you are aware Roy has recently been in the news in an unflattering light with multiple pedestrians, including children, being struck by vehicles. I fear that West Park Drive will become the new 4400 South. Not only is my concern with the speed as to which cars are going through my neighborhood, I'm also concerned about being able to enter and exit my neighborhood. With the train on 4800 South just this morning, I sat in my vehicle along 2900 West by the West Park, waiting to get past the roundabout to access my neighborhood for over 7 minutes this morning while dropping off my kids to school. Unlike a lot of people in Roy who can utilize other streets to get to their homes, our only way in and out of our neighborhood is continuously and consistently blocked to residents multiple times per day. And this is before we add any of those 464.1 cars to our neighborhood. We cannot simply allow for this to be completed without some sort of speed management plan or another way to enter and exit our neighborhood. I went back and watched the June 14th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting on YouTube with the original developer. That day, the developer attended the Planning Commission meeting to propose 295 townhomes built. In his 1 minute and 30-second proposal, which only about 20 seconds he actually spoke to his development, there was simply one single question asked from the city commission planning. And that was, what is your access plan? Which he stated was 4,800 south is the main, and then 4,000 can be for emergencies. The only other comment from the planning commission was, looks good. Looks good. We have to do better to ensure these issues of traffic safety and access are more thoroughly vetted before it even gets to the point where it is now, which has residents concerned and frustrated over the simple fact that the city has overlooked this issue. The city seemed to approve the deal and then deals with the issues later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Name and address, please.
Jim Panagopoulos at 5370 Midland Drive. I lived in Roy for about 25 years now, and it has changed, and really not for the good. And as I was reading some of the conversation on the Facebook page tonight about the meeting, there's a proposed 25% increase in property tax for the residents of Roy. It really concerned me because I understand the impact of the influx of people coming into the state of Utah, and we're getting a lot because of the base and some other things. But it seems to me that we're putting housing into places where there shouldn't be housing. Or why are we trying to be the housing people for Weber County? It almost seems like we're just crowding it in just because. Revenue coming only from property taxes for people, from residents, I don't think is a smart thing to do. If there's an imbalance between the expenses and the revenue of the city, what about the businesses? I mean, you have a strip mall up here that's been vacant for how many years now? Why is there not a moratorium on the developer or the owner of that, saying you have such amount of time until something happens? You see, and it's being left empty and becomes blighted, and it just becomes an eyesore, and then people don't want to come here. And you look at communities around us, like Weber, like West Haven and Clinton and those areas, they're drawing in businesses, viable businesses. Why is Roy not doing that? Do we offer tax incentive for businesses to come into the city, which would help with the revenue, but take the burden away from the homeowners? Because the more we're at, now, a couple years ago, we went and we had the town hall meeting down at Bridge Elementary. And it was when they were building the new housing complex there. And my fear then, which I think is coming true in a lot of places, people are getting into homes they can't afford. They give them an incentive for the first 2 years, and after the 2 years are up, the rates go up again, and they have to refinance, and then they can't refinance because of the interest rates, and then they have to move out of their house, and they file bankruptcy, and the house is emptied. You have those townhomes that are built on 4,300 near 5,500. How many of those are still empty? And so my concern is we're putting in these housing complex, multi-purpose or multi-family housing, and even single-family housing, and in areas, and like these folks have been talking about, it's become more dangerous for the neighborhoods because the speed that's involved, the traffic is getting horrendous. I live what I call now is the Midland Speedway. It's just nuts. It's 25 miles an hour, but they don't follow that. And it's getting worse. But I think going after revenue based on just, raising 25% in taxes on the residents is going to hurt a lot of people. A lot of folks that are retired can't afford that. But why not zero in on bringing in viable businesses into Roy, give them tax incentives to want to be here, and use that revenue that can, displace from what the residents have to pay and suffer through all that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, name and address, please.
Hi, Janelle Holbert, 4178 Westlake Drive, Roy, Utah. I actually am really glad that the issue of the entrance to that place has come up, mostly because I've had concerns about I live off of 4,000, not directly off of it, but my road comes off of it. And I have been noticing that the trains are more frequently stopped and things like that than it seems like, at least in the future. I have no data to back that up, but it just seems like in the past that they have been more frequent and things. And so the traffic gets backed up further for longer. At some points I've sat there for 15 minutes trying to cross the train tracks to get up to the schools or whatever. And especially with all the construction, obviously sometimes that takes even longer now. But I guess my point is that I do think that this is something that we need to look at in the future as well, like 4,000 and 4,800, where it crosses the tracks. We need to come up with a better solution there. When you come up down the hills, you can't see some things. So I worry about, especially that entrance that would come off on 4,000. I worry about the drivers being able to see someone as they're coming down off the hill, because you just can't see that well. So it just seems like an accident waiting to happen at some point. And so, and then just mix that with the crossing in general and people walking across it all the time. We have a lot of kids that even walk up there for church, because we have church up across the tracks, and a lot of people walk home after church or after school down that street. And I'm sure 48,000 has the same issue, since they're right up there by the high school. And so I would like to encourage something. I know that UTA owns a lot of that land over there. We have the train station there. It seems like maybe we could work with them to work some kind of other road situations there. I know that there's been all kinds of rumors about what would happen. I've even heard on my own street that they were going to try to cut through there and go over the trails. So I mean, I have no idea if that was even true at any point, but I just want to say that I just think that it does need to be looked at. I do think it will be a safety hazard in the future. And I think that there are ways to probably address that, but it will take some probably working with UTA to make that happen. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, name and address, please.
Chris Lewis, 5126 South, 3550 West. I'm really not a fan of public speaking, so I'm just going to read, and I see everybody else feels the same way. So I have a few concerns about tax increases, which the one previous gentleman said, especially when I compare them to nearby cities. In fact, you probably are aware, West Haven has no city tax, and they seem to operate pretty well. Councilmember Scadden mentioned a 25% increase in the February 11th council meeting. Just on percentage alone, Roy seems to need a lot more money than cities with similar populations and households. It appears that the only way the city justifies any increase is comparing us to the very few cities that have higher city tax than we do. It's clear budget cuts need to happen in order to balance things across the board. I haven't looked recently, but the last time I did, Roy City Council members received a bigger compensation package than most every nearby city. Maybe that's a good place to start. Or if nothing else, shift those funds to our public service employees, who are incredibly valuable to any city and need to be retained. I also noticed that there was a item on the agenda about the streetlights, the new ones on 5600 South, and $80,000 to paint them. I don't think anybody cares, and they look great the way they are. So between a couple of things, there's almost 100 grand. The mayor stated that our sales tax revenue was flat and our population has gone down. That's true, Mayor, right? I suppose this is the reason that you all feel the need to build 10-story buildings that even Ogden City no longer allows. You do realize that people living in those will drive down the road to Riverdale and spend all of their hard-earned money there instead of in Roy. Essentially, it will be a net loss because we'll need more police and fire to support the increase in population. and the traffic I haven't even mentioned, which has been mentioned previously. If the city was run like a business, having to manage their own funds instead of always asking for more money, then things would be vastly different. I don't feel the council's really listening. It's apparent no one else who's talked before me has felt that way either, or feels that way. A survey was done in 2021, which cost the city taxpayers $14,000. Council member Wilson stated last month that a large majority of residents do not want tall buildings along 1900 West. Yet all but one council member voted in support of doing so, although I'm aware that Diane did try to change her vote. It's obvious that very few on this council are listening to us. I'm not sure what vision you all have for this city, but after talking to hundreds of people these last 2 weeks, I can assure you Roy City residents do not want what you have planned. And now you have yet another survey planned. What, $18,000, $20,000? I don't remember how much the number was. Why? When no one listens. And the last one was sent to a very small percentage of residents. Why not everyone if you really want accurate results and opinions? We all know that retail sales will generate the most revenue for any city. I work for 2 neighboring cities, and I know that for a fact. I've said this before as a retired business owner, former business owner. We had a business here in Roy, retail business for 20 years, and then we moved to a neighboring city for 18 more years because their main street in Roy was a mess and nothing was ever done. I recall back in early 1990s, there was a blight study done. No argument of what was blighted, but it still looks the same since 1990, probably around 92. Anyway, we're always threatened with an increase in taxes, yet city officials fail to see where the real problem lies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Anybody else like to share a thought? Okay, name and address, please.
Jennifer Jones, 1817 West, 5050 South. I just
up a little bit, Jennifer, so they can hear
since
you.
I'm so tall, here we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to bring to your attention, if you weren't aware, that there is a very dangerous strip of road on Airport Road between 4800 South and 5050 South. There's no sidewalk there. And 4800 South is where it begins to be residential. So, of course, further north on Airport Road is all of that industrial. And a lot of people are going very, very fast on that road. And then you get to the roundabout and you get into 4800 South and beyond. And then it's residential and people are still going 50, 60 miles an hour on there. And I'm constantly seeing women with their children and people with dogs walking in the middle of the road because there's no sidewalk there. It's inconsistent. There are some little sidewalks. I don't imagine it would actually be a huge project, but I wanted you all aware of it. If you already have a plan for that, that's great. But I was trying to look online and couldn't see a plan for that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to share a thought? Name and address, please.
Leon Wilson, 4302 South, 2675 West. Matt Andrews, I got a question for you. When does the sign up for the new council positions? Is that June? What day is that?
I don't have the exact date, June 2nd.
So June 2nd. So I'm really not addressing my comments so much to the council as everybody who is sitting behind me and listening on Zoom or whatever. Folks, we got 6 people up here and there are 4 positions that will be filled this coming election in November, but you gotta sign up by June 2nd. It starts?
Yeah, it's from the 2nd to the 6th.
So you got till June 6th at 4:30? 5 o'clock to get your name on the list. It costs you $25 to run for one of those positions. I encourage you to consider that. Not that I want any of you replaced, because I greatly respect all of you, and I know, of course, all of you personally and all the work that you do, but I think it's really, really important that we educate people along the way about issues, so we don't get some of the rhetoric that we're getting that is just a challenge at best. So I encourage you to educate and bring people along in the process. I want you to know I appreciate every one of you a great deal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to share a thought?
There was supposed to be one red that was emailed in. Have that? It was emailed to the council.
Please come up to the mic and ask that question. Oh, you already, I'm sorry.
There was supposed to be a comment red that was emailed in.
Yeah, I can't, yeah, sorry, I apologize
Wish I
for
could speak
that.
on a second topic, but I don't
Yeah.
suppose that's
Part of the
allowed.
record.
Yeah, thank you.
It'll be part of like the final published record.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, it won't be read.
And we do get a lot of emails that do come in, and we make sure that they're pushed onto the city council and become part of the public records. Good point. Anybody else? Okay. Hey, thank you for your comments. Let me just make a point. Your comments are important. And don't think for 1 second that just because you walk up here and you're in the public record that we don't look at them, review them, take action on them. You may not know exactly what we do all the time because sometimes the issues are personnel issues and we don't advertise when we're doing issues with employees. But we take action on the issues that you bring up, the important things that you talk about. And if there's something already in motion, okay, and you really want to know, then please just consider this. Come in and talk to the city manager. Come and talk to the mayor. Come and talk to a city council member. Come and talk to anybody you feel you'd like to talk to about what's happening, and we'll give you a straight answer. You may not like the answer, but you have a right to know what the answer is, and we'll tell you. And the things that you say and the things that you share and the concerns you have, we take it seriously. And we're going to work them. And we have a long list of things we're working through. And my opinion is we're going to get these things solved. Sometimes it takes a little longer than most. But please be patient with us as we work through this. And going back to the comment that was made relative to the first week in June, that's a Monday through Friday. That is a window of opportunity for become more engaged in this public service. If you feel you'd like to become part of that, then please sign up. I mean, I know that the conversations can be hard, but somebody has to make them. And my comment to you is, why not you? Why not you? You certainly can be a city council member, and you can certainly be mayor. And if you feel passionate about doing something and making a difference, then sign up and be engaged. And if you win the election, then make the changes that you feel and you feel the public believes needs to be made, just like we do. And we'll work hard to make sure we can do the best we can with it. So don't hesitate. The open window's the first week of June. And as long as you're in Brittany's office by 5 o'clock on Friday, then you have a shot at it. So consider that. I really appreciate your comments, okay? It's important for us to hear what you have to say, and it's important for us to respond to what you've done, and you've done some good stuff here. So we have that. I've certainly got a ton of notes here, and we'll keep working on that. So thank you for your input. You're welcome to stay. We'll try to keep the meeting as short as possible, but we got a lot of things we want to cover. And by the way, a lot of things we're going to cover is probably really important to you. So you may want to stick around and just listen and see what's happening. This is your local government in action, okay? So with that, Council, we do have some presentations. My understanding is UDOT won't be here to discuss the 5600 update. We can certainly talk a little bit about that. But we're going to start off with Outstanding Junior High School Student Awards, and I think Chief?
Junior high.
Oh, is it junior high?
Junior
I'm sorry. It's the Roy Junior High Student Awards. And I think, Chief, you're going to help us, and you've got the SRO officer that's going to lead the way. So please.
So Detective Frawley is the school resource officer for Roy Junior High, and he's got some certificates that he'd like to present to some of the students from his school, and I think the principal of the junior high is present as well. So if I'll invite her and the students that are receiving the recognition to come on up.
Okay, perfect.
Looks like he just got done playing baseball.
So, City Council, I'm Officer Frawley. I'm assigned to Roy Junior High as the school resource officer. So we have Dayton Foreman. They just came from the game, so that's.
Would have never guessed.
Did we
Never
win?
guessed,
Did we win the
so.
game, Dayton?
Oh.
Lost by one. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Adeline Hurdle, Braylee Ernsberger, and Haley Whittle. And so I'm going to summarize, but I do want you to know why we're recognizing these students for an Outstanding Citizen Award. I've only been at Roy Junior High this year. These students have impressed me, and I think they should be recognized. I'll start with Dayton. So there was a fight. It was more of a one-sided affair during lunchtime. So you have maybe 100 students surrounding this fight. Most egging it on, laughing, but Dayton broke in through this crowd and broke up this fight. I didn't see it, but I went back and I watched the video, the school security cameras, and what he did impressed me greatly. And so that's why I'm recognizing Dayton Foreman. Adeline. So a student made a threat of bringing a weapon to school in a crowded area. Only one person came forward to report that incident, and that was Adeline. Now that alone would be impressive, but she did that three different times in the school year, came forward and made reports that turned out to be credible. And so very impressed, and that's why we're recognizing her with Outstanding Citizen Award. Braylee, again, I didn't see this one, but okay. So Braylee breaks up a fight in the girls' bathroom. Takes a certain type of person to break up a fight, to stick your neck out, to put yourself in that harm's way, and when other people maybe don't do anything. So that would be impressive. But Braylee then marches both girls down to the office and makes them report on what happened. I've never really heard of anything like that. So that's why we're recognizing Braylee. Haley overheard two students who were planning an act of violence against another student. She came forward, maybe when most people wouldn't do that, out of fear of what would happen to themselves. But I believe because of what Haley did in coming forward, that a heinous act was intercepted. And so that's why we're recognizing Haley. So we have awards that will be given out by the chief and the principal. They're signed by both, and we'd like to recognize these students.
Okay, perfect. We'd like to also shake your hands if you don't mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job. Thank you. Thank you much.
Keep up the good work.
Seven? Okay, good job, girl.
Thank you.
Good work.
Yeah, you have to do the obligatory picture, so I know. I'm going to try to duck and get out of it.
I know, I don't want to be in it neither. So
Thank
Chief,
you.
is this something, we've never done this before, so are we gonna keep doing this, like other, like Sandridge too, or how did this come about?
So we have staff that have a ton of great ideas, but they expect others to implement them. I've turned the table. If you have a great idea, it's up to you to implement it. This is Officer Frawley. This
Okay.
is something that he's doing within his school. And
Hey.
it seems to be working, and so I appreciate the fact that they're stepping up and they're doing what they can to recognize people when they need to be recognized. Briefly, I think we kind of underestimate our kids once in a while, and circumstances like this give me hope, right? And I appreciate Officer Frawley for recognizing them and taking the time, and I actually want our other staff members to see this and let this be an example, and hopefully we can get our other folks doing things and taking their own initiative. I talked with the city manager this morning about something that's going on. I'm not privy to talk about it yet, but they're taking their own initiative, and as soon as I get some data, I'll report back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Council, do you have comments?
I do really quick. I was able to be in the school this last week with a prevention activity, and the principal had come in and had spoke to me about Officer SRO Frawley, and the amazing things, the comments that she made. I was like, oh my gosh, you have got to like write some letters. Like this needs to be heard and seen because, yeah.
Thank you, Sophie. John? I'm going to throw John under the bus. I had the privilege of serving as an SRO. That was something that I never, ever really anticipated I ever wanted to do. I got an opportunity to do it, and I absolutely loved it. John, in addition to what you've seen, has actually started an after-school boxing program at the junior high. He's got so many kids participating, he's needing additional staff to come help him out. And he funded it with his own pocketbook in the beginning. We have since rectified that, but there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't ever see or hear about. And you just need to know that that is in fact going on. Just because we don't hear some things or we don't hear all the good things that are happening, they are occurring. I don't think we do a good enough job patting ourselves on the back because that can be uncomfortable, but he's been phenomenal over there, and he's got a ton of support from the administration over there. And our officers need support from good administrations. An administration can really make an SRO successful or otherwise not successful, so I appreciate their support as well.
Yeah, they're super grateful over there for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very important.
Council, any other comments? Okay.
Keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
And as a Roy Junior High alum, as I say, you too one day can sit up here at the big chair. So there's that's an opportunity for you too. So.
Hey, the
Thank
principals
you.
are Roy Junior High alumni.
Great words. Thank you. We're going to table the 5600 South group. Brandy and Team Nancy were unable to attend, so we'll schedule that for another day. Amber's going to lead us in a conversation about the fiscal year 26 budget presentation. Amber, go ahead. It looks like you got video.
Yeah. Okay, I have an 8th grader in junior high, so now I'm all emotional after that. So if I get emotional, it is not about the budget. It's just I love junior
No, come
high
on,
kids.
Amber. It is. It is.
It's not.
They don't go to Roy Junior though, do they, Amber?
No, she goes to West Point, but
Okay.
I love junior high
But
kids.
yeah.
Their kids are
Right.
awesome. Okay. All right. That's good. Mayor and Council, I'm pleased to present to you the budget for the fiscal year 2026. This has been a collaboration between the city manager and all the department directors, and I want to thank them for their efforts. Earlier today, I emailed you a copy of the full budget document with more detail, and I have a presentation here to give you a quick overview, and I also emailed this presentation to you so you can refer to it later if you want. After tonight, you can have time to review the budget document, and we can schedule a work session to discuss any questions you may have. This year I decided to start with the easier funds and present the general fund last. So we have 3 special revenue funds. The first 2 are revenue received strictly from impact fees. The Storm Sewer Development Fund has been saving impact fees until we had enough money to complete a few projects. This year they have $565,000 budgeted for 3 projects. The Park Development Fund has a current balance of $175,000. The budget includes new playground equipment at Fox Glen Park, and the remainder will be saved for future projects. So these 2 funds, money can only be spent specifically for what those impact fees were meant for. The third special revenue fund is the Cemetery Perpetual Fund. This fund is used to collect money paid for plots in the cemetery and then use this money to maintain or expand the cemetery. Since all the available plots in the cemetery have been sold, we do not collect additional money into the fund except for interest earned on the fund balance. We expect to receive about $8,000 in interest in FY26, and the available current balance is $176,000. The city is currently looking into options for adding an additional cemetery. Okay, we have 2 internal service funds. These are funds that provide things for everybody in the city. So the first one is the Information Technology Fund. Their budget is about $1.1 million this year. They provide services for all departments in the city. This includes things like phones, computers, annual service contracts for things like police body cameras, video storage. One notable increase I wanted to mention this year in the IT fund is our Office 365 license, so for everyone to use Windows and Excel and all that on their computers, has increased $30,000 this year. So they see large increases each year because IT keeps increasing just year after year. The other internal service fund is our Risk Management Fund. This fund pays for insurance premiums for liability and property insurance, and their budget is $388,000. Okay, the city has 3 utility enterprise funds. These include the Water and Sewer Fund, the Stormwater Fund, and the Solid Waste Fund. In the Water and Sewer Fund, we did receive 2 increases from our service providers. The first one is Weber Basin Water. They increased their annual water charges by $147,000, or about 15%. This increase will need to be passed along to the customers. The increase will have an effect on the average 4-person household of about $1.26 per month, but this could vary depending on their water usage. Weber Basin Water, just for information, Weber Basin Water is proposing to increase their water charges by $500,000 or 53% over the next 3 years. So we will continue to see increases for that. The second increase we received is from North Davis Sewer. They are increasing their base rate fee by $2.50 per month for each connection. In addition to this increase, the city is proposing their own increase of $2.50 per month per connection to cover rising costs associated with maintaining the sewer lines in the city. We have the additional pump house installed on 4400 South, and our utilities have gone up due to that. We also have some projects needing to be done, including manhole lining projects. And I tried to look back. I don't know that the city has ever increased their portion of the sewer charges since we started. We have increased it, but it's all came through North Davis Sewer increase. We have never increased what we have been charging for what we have to do to maintain that. The total proposed increase for water and sewer then would be $6.26 per month on the average household. Last year, we increased the capital improvement fee to fund the 3500 West Waterline Replacement Project. We expect work to begin on that project during FY 2026, and this will be completed by city workers, not by UDOT this time. We have one position change in the water fund. This is for a reclassification of one position to a public works inspector. This is not an addition of another employee, but a reclass of an existing position. We had this position many years ago, and with all the water line replacement projects being done, this position is needed again. There would not be any additional cost to the fund unless the change results in promotions within the department, and then the cost would be pretty minimal for that. There are no fee increases for stormwater or garbage services. We did receive an increase from Weber County Transfer Station for garbage, but we will be able to cover this increase with the current fees.
Okay.
Okay, next we have the Capital Project Fund. Money in this fund comes from interest earned on the fund balance, and any unspent funds in the general fund at the end of the year are transferred to this fund to pay for capital projects. We have a few projects and equipment proposed this year, and this slide shows the total by department. A full list of all capital items is included in your budget document. As we continue to discuss budget needs in work sessions, I would recommend implementing a strategy to start saving for improvements and future maintenance at the Complex Aquatic Center and parks. An additional property tax increase could be dedicated to saving for parks and recreational facilities. Currently, we save $185,500 annually. This goes towards fire apparatus, but we don't contribute anything for recreational facilities. Even the $185,000 is not sufficient to fund the current rotational cost to replace fire trucks and ambulances, so that also needs to be increased. This makes it difficult as large expenses come due. We don't have the funds available if we aren't putting that away year after year and would have to bond or find another way to pay for those items. Okay, so now on to the general fund. The total fiscal year 2026 general fund budget, which includes Class C roads and transportation, is $28,522,710. This represents a very slight increase of only 0.016% over the current year's modified budget. So basically, it's the same as the budget we're in right now. This slide shows you general fund revenue by source type. As you can see, taxes are our biggest revenue source at $17.2 million. This includes property tax, sales tax, and franchise tax. The second largest revenue source is charges for services at $3.5 million. This includes ambulance services, complex, aquatic center, and recreation revenue. The transportation infrastructure budget of $3.1 million is higher than normal because we have 3 large street projects going on, and we have $2.2 million coming from grant revenue for that fund. Okay, this graph shows expenditures by department. Public safety includes police and fire and accounts for about half of the general fund expenditures at $13.6 million. Parks and recreation is the next largest expenditure at $3.7 million. The funding for Class C roads and transportation infrastructure together equals $4.7 million, and that's restricted only to be used for transportation and Class C purposes. It's not available for wages or any other general fund activities. The remaining general fund departments together total $6 million. Okay, included in the proposed budget you've been given is a 2.5% COLA for all employees and a merit increase. This slide shows a comparison of what other agencies are doing for a cost of living increase this year. Social Security is doing a 2.5 increase, URS is doing a 2.9 increase for retirees, and the state of Utah is also doing a 2.5 increase. As department directors, our employees are our greatest asset. Maintaining the STEP system and annual cost of living increase is vital to keeping quality employees. Over the past 12 months, we have had 25 full-time employees leave for other employment. This equates to about 16% of our full-time staff. Over the past 3 years, we have had 80 employees leave the city for other employment or were terminated for poor job performance. This does not include any retirements. Employee turnover is extremely costly to the city. Wages are the largest contributing factor to employee turnover. In addition to the COLA, we would like to discuss further in a work session how we can address the issue of low wages and funding needed for a salary survey. Besides wages, we can continue to look for ways to increase job satisfaction through benefits and work-life balance, and we've been working on that over the past months. Included in the proposed budget is an increase in property taxes of $750,000, which equates to about 15%. Despite the total budget being consistent with the current year budget, we have had some shortfalls in revenue that we need to make up for. The 2 largest shortfalls are ambulance revenue and interest income. With the loss of West Haven and Hooper servicing areas, we are projecting a decrease in ambulance revenue of $588,000. Then interest rates have declined over the past few months, and we also paid about $4 million to UDOT, which we had from the ARPA funds, but that decreased our amount that we had in the bank, so we're not earning interest on that money. So we are projecting a decrease in interest revenue of about $200,000. Since operations budgets were cut last year, we had a difficult time finding more expenses to cut to make up for the shortfall in revenue. Therefore, we need the property tax increase. Okay, so budget next steps. The administration proposed budget is now the City Council's tentative budget. It is your budget to review, make changes, and consider for approval. We have posted the budget on the website for the public to review. With the proposed property tax increase and our newly adopted ordinance, we will need to go through the truth and taxation process. The tentative budget needs to be adopted by June 17th, where you will set the maximum amount the tax rate can be increased. The final budget and tax rate will then need to be adopted by August 19th. So that includes my presentation, if you have any
Okay.
questions.
Thank you, Amber. Council comments or questions?
Nope, great job putting that together. It's still foreign language, half of it to me.
Yeah.
But you and Matt, you do a great job, and everybody that works on it. So,
In the public comments section, somebody brought up that West Haven City doesn't have property taxes, but they still have the sheriffs, the Weaver County sheriffs, as well as Weaver County Fire. So again, when you look at our budget in terms of where we're putting out the most capital outlay, it is for those public safety types of things. So just to kind of educate the broader community on that.
Okay. Any other comments? Council, we need to have a conversation about establishing a work session. You now have the budget in front of you, and you've got an electronic copy. We'd like to give you about 2 weeks to go ahead and go through the document, and then we'd like to meet in a work session to go ahead and flesh out where we go from here.
So we're saying the 20th, is that what we're saying?
We could be the next city council meeting, which would be 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, which would be the 20th. Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Can we tentatively plan maybe the 20th to have a work session? There may be some conversation we'll have about some other priority requirements that the city council may have to address outside of the work session, but we could dedicate some time specifically to work this budget. So 20th? Okay, we'll go ahead and send a reminder to you. Make sure we check your schedules, and then we'll plan then for the 20th of May. We'll set a time that's effective, okay, for all of you, and then we'll begin that. By the way, the public is welcome, okay, to set in, listen to the conversation. It's important that you understand where I dare say $40 million of monies is being spent. And as we work through this process. So please, if you can, join us in those public meetings. All decisions will be made in a formal city council meeting, but the work sessions are opportunity to explore different ideas, different things that might help us to be able to make some adjustments that are effective. So again, we'll plan for the 20th of May.
but the public is not able to make comments at that meeting, right?
I try to let the work session to be a work session by which you're engaged in the problem. Amber's going to have to talk the details. You'll have some detailed questions, we assume. I say bring those with you, but you need to interact. You need to basically look at this budget, look at options before you'll be asking a public meeting to basically make a decision. But there will be other times when, in fact, we will invite the public to engage, okay, before a vote will be taken. So it's a great opportunity for the public to engage in that. But more importantly, if you can, to understand in these work sessions, which are open to the public, of where we're taking and how detailed we get into the discussion about what's happening. So please, to your point, Ann, yes, we're going to limit the conversation, but I really want to focus the conversation around the city council and the staff to provide details.
And
So if you plan for
typically
that.
we start with a city council meeting and then adjourn and go into the work session. So there would be opportunity for somebody to make a public comment.
They could, if depending on the timing.
Yep.
It's just a timing issue. But certainly the work session is focused primarily just on the budget.
Yeah, work
and
session, they can't make public comment, but again, if we
City
had a
council
formal
meeting, they
city
can
council
talk
meeting,
any
just like we
topic
just had
they
this
want.
morning.
You
correct?
bet.
Or
Mhm.
today, this evening, whatever. this
Amber,
is.
anything else you want to share before we close this presentation?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Amber. But you're not going very far. You're going to provide us this assessment on our fraud risk. So please, Amber, if you go ahead and continue with the next presentation.
Okay, so each year the State Auditor's Office requires us to complete a fraud risk assessment and present it to the council. What this consists of is a questionnaire, which it got missed in the packet, but Brittany's provided it all to you up there, so you should have it up there. This goes through and asks us questions about what policies and controls we have in place to try to prevent fraud from occurring. We receive points for each of these items. We received a total score of 335 points, which puts us in the low category for risk. The city is doing very well, and we also try to always keep up on new ways that fraud can keep occurring because it changes year after year, and we try to mitigate that risk. So that's all.
So it looks pretty good then, huh? Perfect. Comments, council?
Looks
Okay.
like a good spot to be in.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Amber. Okay. Appreciate that. Okay, council, we have some action items we need to walk through. So let's begin with consideration of Resolution 25-5, a resolution amending fees for building inspections, plans, reviews, and other construction code fees. As you remember, council, we have been working this now through a couple of sessions where we've tabled it, got more information. So we're going to ask Brody if you'll step up, kind of lead the conversation on Resolution 25-5. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. Just speaking frankly, in the discussions we've already had, I don't think there's any question, correct me if I'm wrong, that the fees need to be amended. I believe it was in the late 90s last time that they were amended. I think the question that's come up is the issue of what to do of a fine or a fee or penalty for people who are constructing without a permit, and I know that's where the council has had some concerns. That being said, last council meeting we asked that the proposals from each member be sent to us. That was provided to you. There was an input from Mayor Dandoy, Councilmember Scadden, Councilmember Saxon, and Councilmember Wilson. Those are all before you. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think at this point it's really how do we want that to read? I'm happy to answer any questions that come up, but ultimately I think it's just, what do you want to do?
I think it's a great way to approach it, Brody. Council, some of us basically provided input. My comment would be, we got input from myself, Councilmember Scadden, Councilmember Saxton, Councilmember Wilson. How about if we just take a second and maybe you can talk your recommendation, okay, on this particular unit. We'll start with Councilmember Scadden. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us on your proposal?
No, I mean, my proposal was mainly just because some of the concerns that were aired were, residential builds and people that are just doing like their own type of stuff wouldn't necessarily know the depth and degree of what they were doing. So my notion was if they didn't get a permit for a particular thing, it would be double the permit fee and then with a maximum penalty of up to $500. And again, when you're thinking of that from, just broadly from a permitting perspective, it does make it so it's a little more painful. And again, our intent isn't necessarily to be painful, but it wants to be, you need it to be punitive. And then contrast that with on the commercial side, and especially maybe some of the developments that we're talking about, there would be no upper end to like what the penalty could actually be, because the notion behind that is they should have people and teams that are going through and making sure they're adhering to codes and adhering to process and things of that nature. So that was kind of the notion behind what I was thinking about from a fee penalty perspective.
Okay,
So.
Thank you, Randy. Yep. Councilmember Saxton, do you want to talk about your idea?
Well, yeah. I thought.
Bring it up so we can hear you better.
I thought the $1,000 fine was excessive. And so in addressing that, I thought that on first violation, $25 fee with a maximum of $250. And I based that just on hoping that those needing a permit will see that amount and come in and actually pay it versus people thinking that permit and that fine is way too high. There's no way I'm going into the city. I'll put in my own AC, my own water heater, my own, and so I went the conservative route. But half of about what Councilman Scadden had indicated.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Councilmember Wilson, your thoughts?
And before I start, I had a question for Brody. On this worksheet, it mentioned that the valuation will only affect residential permits and not commercial permits. And I just did not realize that was the case. And so these fines and fees are for residential only that we've been discussing and not commercial, because in my mind, I guess I had thought that it covered both. But that was just a clarification that I just noticed the other day.
The valuation on the worksheet, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing.
It's on the background for the worksheet, and sorry about throwing that in there.
okay.
It says Roy City Council Agenda Worksheet for today's action item number 1.
Oh.
And on the background, about 2/3 down, and
Oh, yeah, the valuation portion used is only used for residential, and quite frankly, the commercial is basically set for commercial properties. With building permits for residential units, there is a matrix, and to be honest, it's very difficult to follow, but there is a valuation based on the type and the square footage of home you're building that really lessens the fees for smaller projects. Bigger houses, it raises the fee, where a commercial fee is more of a set list. That's what that's talking to.
and so does that mean the penalties
No,
are only for residential, or is it still across the board?
penalty be if you're working without a permit.
Okay.
Whether it's commercial or
Or,
residential.
okay, thank you
Yes,
for that
thank you, sorry.
clarification.
I couldn't find it.
Okay. So in regards to my thoughts, I believe that the concerns were mostly that people aren't aware of the need for these permits, especially when it comes to home maintenance issues. I believe everyone is pretty much aware that if you do an addition to your home, or if you're building a home, you need to pursue this. But the other area is, I have talked to a lot of people, and I've yet to find anyone that was aware that they needed to be getting a permit for that. So with that being said, I felt that it would be good to put it out after I spoke with Matt Wilson, that we already do a warning. We already, not in essence a warning, but we work with people and we try not to penalize them. We're trying to educate them and help them do it. And so I believe a warning first would be very important for initial encounter, because we're already kind of doing that, but this way it's going to be official and in case employees change. And that helps educate our public. And as we do that, then hopefully that word will spread and it's looked at, I think, in a little different way. Now, in regards to it subsequent, if they receive a warning and they do not follow through with that, then for basic home maintenance, I was thinking that maybe actually no fine. And let me just go over this. We have several laws. We know that these are required by national codes. We have to have these laws in place. But as you look, there are a lot of laws in place that are not enforced. If we think about it, a lot of them are out there. And so I think a lot of it comes down to certainly public education, and then how much is government overregulation? How much is overdone? And so you have a balance between, first of all, education and then overregulation. We're trying to help people. Now, what would the penalty be if by chance someone doesn't get their permit fee and they have a problem in home maintenance and they need to sell their home and they are and the city is called and there's no permit fee? Then they realize, well, I guess we better get that permit fee because that helps them with education. It also, a penalty would be, of course, if it's a fire and the insurance doesn't cover it, or it's a water issue, that would be a pretty big penalty. But on the other hand, guess what? They don't know about it to begin with anyway, and so an additional fine, I think education's the first thing, but I would think for home maintenance, I think for all other residential and commercial things, because there is such a wide variety of fees that go from a small amount to a high amount, we could maybe start with 25% of the permit fee per violation up to double the permit fee, because that way it puts it on the seriousness or the extent of the fee that is required. And that way we are balancing the different work items that need to be permitted. Now, if something happens and we need to shut a job down anyway, the city can red tag it and shut it down whether there's a permit fee or not. But I believe this might be a little more balanced as opposed just to a certain amount of money that is the same for all, whether it's residential, commercial, home maintenance. That may not be as fair across the board because of the different seriousness of that. And one of the things in regards to commercial, as I've talked to some additional developers and contractors, they have mentioned that all of the big commercial builders, they know you need to get permit fees. It's not a big thing. They know it. It's part of their system. They just get it. It's done. But the people that might have the problem would be maybe a newer commercial or a smaller business that's trying to get into commercial. And so what this does, this allows them education, but without trying to kill them. You know, they need, okay, this needs to be done. This is the payment you need. And then they'll certainly know for the next time to do that. So I think it is actually a pretty simple way to approach it, but it also gives a variation that reflects the extent that the permit may be anywhere from $40 to $10,000, and it gives a bit of a balance there. So that's where I was coming from.
So Mayor, I didn't email him anything. I just went and talked to him several times about this.
Go
Can I
ahead,
give you
Doc.
my
Yeah.
comments?
Mhm.
Okay, so I kind of agree that there should be no fee. I mean, I think of all the things that I have done, my husband did to our house and my brother worked on my house, that I didn't even know you needed a permit to do. Put in a water heater, we added on a, made a carport into a garage, we had our roof done. I had no clue that you had to get a permit for all these things. So I just feel that there's probably thousands of homes in Roy that have done these things and finished their basement, and they didn't have a clue they had to get a permit. But I think if you're adding on like an addition to your home, which we've had, this happened in Roy, and they didn't have a permit, that you put a stop order on it. I mean, you might get away with it unless a neighbor tells on you or something, happens. But then if they don't quit, stop building on it at that point, then that goes to the courts, and then let them deal with it rather than giving a fine. Because I think if I know that if I was building something and they said it's going to be $25 a day, I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to keep building. I can pay $250. What? That's not going to do anything to me. Even $500, I would finish adding on to my house because I would want to pay the $500 and just finish adding on to my house. But if you have a stop work order put on that property, and then if they don't do it, and then they get a code violation, and then they go to the courts, and then let the court system deal with it. So that is just my opinion on it, so.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Council, in the package, you'll see that I made a comment, and there was really basically just two things. My recommendation, the heart of this really comes down to a lot of what we just heard. Most people are not aware. And whether or not you choose to go ahead and have a furnace put in, an air conditioning unit, a gas stove, a pellet stove, or a water heater, or water line replacement, gas lines, or electrical panels, the reality is the city's expecting the residents to come into the city to get a permit to do that, and then have a person who's knowledgeable to what they're doing, and then have it inspected. The inspection serves a couple of important pieces, and that is to ensure that what work was done is in fact safe. The challenge has always been, and it still is unless we choose to correct it, is that somewhere in this public document, which is available and will be available to the public, that talks about what is included when they say mechanical permits. What is included in terms of plumbing permits? What is included in terms of electrical permits? It's not to suggest one thing, that you can't go up there as a homeowner and says, I'm going to change out the sink in a bathroom and have to get a permit. It's certainly plumbing, but it doesn't warrant, the city to have to come in and do an inspection on that. And yet, the general terms, plumbing permit, without clarification, would drive anybody to speculate and says, so what is and what is not in that? And so what I proposed is that define what it is. If you look at that piece of paper, particularly under other permits and over the counter, if it's mechanical permits, it is the furnace, it is the air conditioner, it is the swamp cooler, it is an air conditioner or furnace, and it is the gas, wood, or pellet stoves. If you're going to do that in your residence or your business, then bottom line would be is you have to have a permit. If you're going to deal with plumbing and you change the water heater, or you're going to change the main water line, or you're putting a flow meter in, or you're basically dealing with gas lines or culinary sprinkling systems, then come in and get a permit. They're rather cheap. The key would be is to ensure that you don't do it wrong. If you don't put the right unit on a culinary sprinkler system, you get backflow, okay, that comes in from the source. You could contaminate the water, and we certainly don't want to do that. And so there are some conditions that need to be checked. And then, of course, the city expects if you're going to do electrical permit, if you mess with the electrical panel or electrical outlets and you put 25 or 30 electrical outlets in there, then bottom line, come and get a permit, and therefore it'll be checked. Anything else you choose to have done or anything else you choose to do yourself, you don't need a permit. So clarifying specifically what warrants and what doesn't warrant could be valuable to our residents. And I think you have to think about it from that way. Or to your point, Ann, and you make a good point, and I think, Diane, you suggest this as well, people just don't know. So tell them, this is a public document. You go into the public record, here's what it says. Now, to the idea in terms of the other size, as we've stated, we all struggle a little bit with $1,000 a day fine. That was a little steep. And we says, well, what's the right answer? Well, I'm recommending if you're working without a permit, you get a $25 per day for the first violation. $50 a day if you continue to do that, up to a maximum of $250. Kind of echoes a little bit of what I think you said, Brian, in terms of what you're looking for in terms of a penalty. If you're told you need a permit, then get a permit. That's important. And I think the city, as I think Brody kind of nodded, he simply says, hey, if you make a mistake, you have to do a repair over the weekend, then certainly come into the city, okay, when it's open and get the permit. And let's have somebody check it to make sure that not only if you did it or if you had a provider do it, okay, a contractor do it, they did it right. And there will probably be no cost at all for that, except just get a permit. So my recommendation would be is to go with pretty much everything that was provided to us, except clarify exactly what it means when you're saying a mechanical or a plumbing or electrical permits. And then if you're going to basically, and a person works, to let them know that $25 a day is the penalty if you violate it, to a maximum of $250. So, council, you now have literally 5 ideas.
So you're basically saying $25 a day if you're adding a garage onto your house, or if you're putting
it's a
in a
different-
new
it's a different
wood
requirement.
pellet stove or
Yeah, it's-
whatever? Because everything that I had done to my house, my furnace, my hot water heater, everything, they were professionals, so I was covered if anything was wrong.
Yep.
But I'm sure most people call somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot of do-it-yourselfers too, and a lot of smart men out there that you can look it up on YouTube and figure out how to do it. My son does it all the time. But I guarantee people don't. I just don't know. I just think people are just going to do it themselves still if they can save a buck and
Can
not
do
have
it
to go in
yourself,
and get a
though.
permit. Unless their house burns down and then they find out they didn't have a permit and then they won't get insurance probably on it. So, but I just don't know how you can get the word out and they can say that I heard about it, but yeah. But I didn't really want to pay the $25, so I just had my neighbor put in my hot water heater for me. I don't know. I just think it's a hard thing to enforce.
It is. And remember, the key, let's look at it from a practical perspective. Let's talk about a water heater. The average life of water heater is probably about 10, 12 years.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I guess if you got a saltwater unit or whatever involved with that. We got over 15,000 housing units, okay, in Roy. If the math is simple, okay, we should be seeing at least 100, maybe 150, could be a few more every year. I'm just low dosing this one, but every year there should have been a permit coming in just for water heaters.
Right.
I dare say we probably got 2 or 3, if any.
But very few.
Yeah.
So I think we have a couple of things we have to do. One is that we need to establish what appears to be reasonable expectations in terms of building fees, which is what's being proposed, and then a penalty, okay, if we believe a penalty is necessary. And Diane, I think your point would be is it may not necessarily be necessary. And then we got to get out there and we got to inform and educate. Because most people, even many of you, have testified in this public meeting that you had work done and there was no permit done.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's on the record, so.
I just had new hot water heater put on a friend who's licensed plumber just
Okay.
this year.
And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with
So-
licensed people doing it. The problem is they more likely didn't get a permit.
No, I didn't even know anything about getting
Bingo.
a permit, so.
So we have an educational moment we've got to push, but we also have to establish the Roy City building fees requirement, which is what really is the directive we've got here. And so if we can choose then a hybrid of what we've been provided or simply one of the ideas that's been presented and be agreeable, then I say we can get this particular ordinance, this particular resolution approved. But what do you want to do?
I have a question for Attorney Wilson. I was wondering, you had mentioned that by defining or clarifying everything that needs a permit, that might be disadvantageous because of the need to change the information so often. Is there a way to give examples and still leave it a little open-ended so people at least have more ideas?
We do give examples on the website. It's
Okay.
just in the fee schedule, I wouldn't give the examples.
I see.
Yeah, because this is one of those areas where it's nice to be ambiguous as opposed to being explicit.
Well, I just don't see how you can, I can see if they're adding a big addition onto their house and then a fee if they don't, if you get a stop work order. I just don't know if you're having someone put a gas fireplace in your house, which I had done several years ago, and I paid no fee, and it took them a few days. But how's anybody going to know that I didn't pay that fee, and how are they going to penalize me for how many days it took? I just don't see
Okay,
little things
so
like
maybe
that.
I can jump in, and
Yeah.
I apologize. And I thought
Yeah.
I was clear the first time, but maybe I'm not. So we are not at Roy City. We don't have staff enough to go around and
Right.
be like, Ann, what did you do? Diane, what did you
Right.
do? That's not what we're talking about. Could it maybe happen in the future? Sure. But also, Chief Gwynn could tell his police officers to give everyone a ticket going 26 into 25.
Right.
Right? He could do that, but we don't because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Okay? So the thing that is hard is when we're talking fees as staff and we bring this, what we're talking about, and I'll just give an example. We have a renter who lives in a property that he does not own, who is adding about 1,200 square feet onto the house by bolting a 2x4 to the stucco. We went to him 5 different days trying to stop it and could not until we had to actually put a stop work order and get a court and get a restraining order to have him stop. Okay? This is what we're talking about. This is why we need a fee.
Right.
And just respectfully, if you tell me that the fee is less than the permit, it holds no weight in that situation. Now, if that's what you think is best, okay. We kind of got off saying like, well, I don't want to penalize. We have had hundreds of people who are like, hey, I was building my basement for an internal dwelling unit and I didn't get a fee. And we said, okay, you probably need to get it inspected, not only to comply with the law, but your home insurance wants it inspected. Can we go inspect it for you? And we do it. And we charge them the electrical inspection fee, which was $168, and life went on.
Right.
Okay. When we're talking fees, this is a serious situation of somebody who is not only building things that are unsafe, they're not cooperating with staff.
Right.
We have another house, I'll give an example. They came in, they hired someone who they thought was licensed. He wasn't licensed. He wasn't licensed because what he does is he comes in, he builds structures that don't comply with the building code. He doesn't have license to it, and they don't comply with the city ordinances. Now we have an individual who has a house that is out of compliant, and quite frankly, the only way is going to cost him over $100,000 to redo everything that was done.
Right.
We have to have a mechanism as staff to stop that contractor from doing that. That's why we put the $1,000 fee in. If
Right.
1,000 is too much, that's fine. If we think the penalty should be less, that's fine too. But I think, I just want to make sure that the staff's point of view is, we are not talking about individual homeowners who are replacing things. Those permit fees are to cover the cost of the inspection that you want as a homeowner and your homeowner insurance wants.
Right.
We're not gonna go penalize people for
Right.
doing that. It's just not gonna happen. You know,
Right.
maybe if you hire my replacement and 3 other people in my department who are all terrible humans and they wanna go penalize everybody, then that'll happen. What we're talking about is severe violations that cause safety
Right.
concerns. And again, $100,000, $200,000 worth of damage.
Right.
We have to have a mechanism to stop that. That's what this fee is for.
That's what I wanted to get out of you, Brody. So.
Good job, Brody. Great job.
Other comments, council? So
I have a
what would you
question.
like to do?
I have a question for you, Mayor. When you were talking about clarifying, where is it that you would feel that this clarification would be important? Where it is now, or in addition to the fee schedule, or what was it that you were thinking of there?
Yeah, good question. If you walked into the office and the city would give you then a copy of it, you would then see under this piece right here, okay? You've probably seen it in your packet.
Yeah.
This outlines exactly what the fee permits are, what the permits are in terms of traditional things like water heaters or water lines or even over-counter permits. So this was really something they would find inside when you walk into the office. Great place for staff to know, because they would say, well, let me look it up, and yes, if you're going to replace the furnace, here's the furnace permit, here's the cost, and it'll cost you $34.09. Okay? And then what they would do is, now they know it, they have a permit, they will come when the project's over, and they will do that inspection to ensure that the furnace doesn't burn the house down. Okay?
Yeah.
Now remember, who performs the work can be you as an individual, or could be and should be oftentimes should be done by a licensed contractor.
Right.
Okay? The problem is that that's about the only place you'll know that a furnace permit is in fact necessary. So the intent of putting it out here right in the Roy City building fees was to say, if you're going to look and say, should I have a permit? Then what we're saying is, then here's what we're saying. Yes, if you're going to do a furnace replacement under our mechanical permits, then here's what you're looking for and here's the cost. $50 plus the state fee. And that's it. That's the cost.
So what if you come in and get a permit, but the person that you hired said they're licensed, but they're not?
Yeah, the challenge is going to be is that
so
the individual that's hiring somebody really then has to verify whether or not there's a quote, a licensed person they hired or not. I think they can come to the city and ask them to run through the sites and see if the Business Bureau has found this particular person to be
Deal.utah.gov. Anyway.
So, a couple things specific to Ann. The permit doesn't, we're not checking to see who did the
Who's
work.
authorized,
We're
yeah.
only inspecting that it complies with the building code, so it's safe.
That's the
And
requirement.
then, if I can just speak frankly with the mayor, I think the mayor has a great idea, and I think this goes to Mr. Wilson's statement, of putting it in the building fees could create some legal confusion of, these are the only fees we're requiring. Whereas I think it would be a great idea to have staff put on the website, like almost an advisory page of, hey, these are the things you need to think about. That way the fees always go back to what is required by the ICC, which we adopt.
Okay.
Because my concern is, and it has been, if we change it specifically to list out all these things, if something changes in the ICC and we don't list it, there's an argument to say we don't have to do that in Roy City.
Right.
And what we do is we adopt the building codes through the ICC, and the building codes are what are legally governing. But I do think it's a good idea to create on the website, these are some typical fees for a homeowner for residential.
Right.
I think that would be a good thing to do.
Right, because I bet 90% of the people in Roy have no clue. They had to get a fee to put in their hot water heater or, fix their sink or whatever. So I think the word just needs to get out that people need to get these,
All right, so that
permits.
that addresses the what. Now we have to address what is the penalty aspect of it.
Okay.
So, I guess from that, I'm fine with what Brian proposed, because again, it's happy medium between what I proposed. I'm okay with that.
What do you think?
So, again, it maximizes the penalty up to $250, which also falls in line with what like Mayor Dandoy put out there too as well. So again, it makes it so it's punitive enough to make somebody go, okay, I probably should. Yeah.
You want to read yours again, Brian?
Yeah, I was, my
In the mic.
exact proposal was working without a city-issued permit can result in a civil penalty of $25 for the first day found out of compliance and $25 per day after that, with a maximum penalty of $250 when applicable.
Okay, that's what's in, that's what he's proposing. So what do you think?
I don't know, when I talked to you about this, Brody, and we kind of, I thought both agreed that I would just pay the $250 and keep building. I mean, I don't know, I just don't think most people, that's just my opinion, would just probably say, if I'm only gonna get charged $25 up to $250, I need to get this done, so I'll just pay the $250 and keep working.
And that's when the stop order could be done if it was felt to
Yeah,
be
yes. Yeah.
serious, I guess, then?
Maybe at the end of the $250, then a stop work order, or, I don't know.
I have a question in that particular wording. I remember we were looking and it talked about, for the fine, it would be a working day. And so it's not per day, the clarification being per day, per working day. I guess that wording would be in if we use something like that, right? So it's not accumulating days once you stop work.
So, and Brody, didn't you say this probably has come up maybe once in 5 years, or, I know that I know the one where the dry cleaners was, where they didn't get a permit and they added a, you know, a drive-through or whatever, stuff like that, because they probably didn't know neither, but is this something that you feel is gonna happens a lot?
Well, this
that-
doesn't happen
Yeah.
a lot, and thankfully, I mean, you know, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of there's maybe 5 situations in the city that I can think of within the last couple of years.
Right.
Where it would be like, no, you are stopping and you're gonna pay a fee because we told you to stop, you didn't stop.
Right,
You know, we had to issue stop work orders, we had to go to court.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well-
council, we got a lot more questions than we're getting answers.
I know, Sophie, what do you
Well,
feel?
I'm thinking that your $150,000 home, or whatever it is that they weren't complying with, like it is, it's $250 is nothing. That's not even a slap on the hand. And so you're not getting anywhere with that.
Well, and, I mean, you know, as a matter of policy, right, like, I'll take a criminal citation, right? Not having insurance is a penalty. If you're driving without insurance, you get pulled over, they give you a ticket, you come into court. The minimum fine is $400, okay? And the reason is, you can go back to the legislative history, is the state legislature says, if it costs me $150 to have insurance, but my penalty is $75, I'm just gonna not get insurance. And so that's kind of what I go back to when I analyze this. If we're gonna make the fine or the penalty cheaper than the permit, just don't have one, and we'll just deal through it through court. And that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Just take it out, and we won't have one.
Comments? My gut feeling is I don't think we're there. And you're going to be asked here in a second to make a decision and vote for something that I'm not so sure we can even agree on. So if this needs to be flushed a little bit more, then my comment would be is recommend you consider tabling it, and let's come back to this again with maybe a little bit more refining questions, because Brody's sitting there trying to answer questions that, in my opinion, should have been answered
Okay.
over the last week
Matt
or
Wilson
two.
wants
Can I make a
say.
suggestion?
Please.
Mayor, what I would suggest, rather than tabling the entire ordinance, just strike that from the ordinance,
penalty,
and then
correct.
you could pass the building fees.
Correct. I was just going to suggest that. What I was going to suggest is whatever the current like penalty is for non-conformance to having a fee? Can we do that?
We don't
There's not
have
one.
There's not one. Oh.
Right.
We had those situations come up when we built this ordinance. We put that in based on the situations I've talked about. So we currently don't have one. So that's what I said. If we really think it's not important
Then
and
just-
we shouldn't have a penalty, then just pass it without it. And staff will go on. We still have remedies. They're just,
This point.
they take longer.
Right. That's what I recommend. We just pass it without, and then if something comes up, you put a stop work order on it, and then if they don't comply, then they're gonna deal with it with the courts,
Correct.
and they'll
Just
get
work its
fined
way.
accordingly.
Counsel?
That's
I'm,
what I
I'm
think.
good with that. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Because I don't wanna
let me
talk
just
about
make
this
sure we got it for
again.
clarification. This is the attachment A. It's not an exhibit, it's the attachment A. Everything that's in the attachment A except strike where it says working without a permit, per day violations subject to double fees of $1,000. Strike that piece out of this particular attachment A.
Can you hand me that and I will motion? I just need to see it to.
Now, Randy, you know you should have this memorized.
I know. No, like I said, I can pull it up on my iPad.
Okay.
But, all right.
Before you do that, let me just make sure, any other comments or questions before I ask for a motion?
No.
By the way, Matt Wilson, great idea, okay? Yeah, that gets us past this. So,
Right.
hearing none, then do I have a motion to approve Resolution 25-5, a resolution amending fees for building inspections, plans reviews, and other construction code fees?
Motion to approve Resolution 25-5, striking the other fees and fines, working without a permit per day violation, subject to double fees of $1,000. And that's really it. I just
That's
need to
it.
start from that. That's it.
Is it?
Okay, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Me and
Ooh,
Diane
now
will
you
both
guys
second
are
it.
lined right up. Okay. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Paul? Aye. Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton?
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 25-5 is approved. Oh, wow. Okay, I like my paperback there, Randy.
Oh, yeah, you're all yours. All yours.
Keeps my packet square. Resolution 25-8, this is Chief Williams. This one's an interesting one.
Should be easier.
Or maybe not so interesting. You're going to share that with us.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't find it interesting at all. No, so Mayor, Council, this is a renewal between the agreement of Roy City, Ogden City, and Weber Fire District and the physician, Dr. Robert Groh. So just quickly before I take your question, I just want to mention a few things I think is pertinent. If you've got the agreement, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm happy to entertain any questions. But one reason why this was developed is we had the paramedic agreement, and we had Dr. Groh, who's the medical director who works with the state medical director, Dr. Talak. So when the fire departments in this area started taking on the AMTs, they were required to carry medications, which required to have a medical physician, a medical director oversee that. And so that's why this agreement is separate from the paramedic. It's because our AEMTs are now able to do, give more services, push different medications and do more, which requires a medical director. In this process, when it comes up for renewal, there's an RFP that's sent out to different hospitals and physicians out there to see who is interested in being our medical director in the county. Dr. Groh was the only one who responded to the RFP. I've known Dr. Groh for many, many years. He's a great man. And so we're glad that he's willing to renew with us. Also, that's I think it's important to mention is we strive to have representation either from a KD and Ogden Regional. And so in this, you'll see that there's a subcontract, another physician, if just in case something happens to Dr. Groh or there's unforeseen circumstances that he needs support, that's what the subcontractor is. And we like to try to have a representation from either hospital. And that's the choice of Dr. Groh. In this circumstances, I don't believe there was one who voluntarily agreed to be a subcontractor. So, but that's what we try to do. With that said, I'm happy to entertain any questions concerning this new renewal of the agreement.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Council, any comments, questions for the chief?
So he's just a doctor basically on call. So if your EMTs need, information like, or to administer it, medication, then they have to call him just to.
No, he oversees all that. The hospital is our medical control.
Okay.
Dr. Groh oversees all of our, sometimes there's new medications that he allows us to carry. He kind of oversees that because there's a lot of different medications and certain things that we can do that he has to approve. So he has oversight over all how we practice medicine.
Okay.
And make sure it's in line with the state.
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, I'll defer to you. Any questions there? Because this is more your area of expertise.
Right up your alley.
So I believe that refers to basically, you have a lot of standing orders or treatment guidelines that he
Correct.
has approved, so thereby you're able to practice under your license as well as under his when you're using different medications and that sort of thing.
Exactly. You
What he's
explained it
doing
better
there.
than I did.
And-
That's why I turned to her.
Yeah.
And then I just thought it was an interesting, if you could just review how the numbers were calculated again for the division, and then just that additional alternate, there's no additional fee to the 15,000 for the alternate. I thought those were very interesting things that you explained to me the other day. Maybe you could just review that for everyone.
Yeah, so the cost breakdown is how many AEMTs we have. And you can see on page 2, it gives the cost to us of Roy City versus Weber and Ogden. And that's calculated, it actually explains it up above, that it's calculated based upon how many AEMTs we have.
And that's positions not necessarily employed at the time, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. And then the subcontractor, it's an undisclosed amount that we pay him the full 15,000. He chooses how much to give to the subcontractor who helps him. And if that's not disclosed. I talked to Dr. Groh yesterday. That's when Diane called me and asked that question. I didn't know the answer, so I called him directly. He said, yeah, it just kind of depends how much he wants to be involved, because he is required, as you read through the document, it explains what he does for us. And so it's really an agreement between him and the subcontractor what he will pay him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, other comments, questions? Then, do we have a motion then to approve Resolution 25-8, a resolution of the Roy City Council authorizing an agreement between Roy City, Ogden City, Weber Fire District, and physician advisor Dr. Robert Groh?
So moved.
Thank you, Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sophie. This is roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Scadden.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 25-8 is approved. Thank you, Council. Consideration of Resolution 25-9, a resolution of the Roy City Council authorizing an agreement between Roy City and Clinton City for an 8-inch sewer line from the county line to 6,000 south. Brandon, lead us in this one.
All right, so this is, you guys probably all see the roundabout that's going in on, is going to start progress here shortly. So along 3100 West, the Roy City main sewer line was not deep enough, so it interfered with the new storm drain that's going to go in as part of that project. And finding out Clinton City also has a sewer line that runs to 6,000 and is deeper. So we reached out to Clinton City to see if they would work out an agreement with us where we could tie, there's 5 laterals from them 5 homes that are on 3100 West, if we could utilize their 8-inch sewer line to get to 6,000. This obviously saves the city a bunch of money without us having to install a new main sewer line through there. And Clinton City was nice enough to let us go ahead and make them connections if you guys agree to this. So, I mean, it's kind of a great deal for us, saves us a bunch of money. And Clinton City is going to eventually abandon that line once they have some development happen to the west of them. They plan on taking that line to the west. So this agreement will just, we basically are going to take maintenance over from the county line to 6,000. And then once Clinton disconnects from that, then we'll just take ownership of that line as well.
Okay. Any questions for Brandon?
So to clarify, that just means that then we would take over ownership of that as well, and this is an indefinite project, so we don't have to look at replacing that in the future and just until that particular line needs it.
Yeah, so we'll just do the maintenance. So we'll obviously jet the lines and everything because we'll be responsible from basically the county line. And then yes, once we do take full ownership, it will be ours facility, and the line's in great shape. So yeah, we won't have any issues.
I was just going to ask you what maintenance on a sewer line all entailed.
Camera more than you would think. So
I mean, it works till it breaks, basically.
Well, I wish. I mean, between everything that goes down them, we
Let's just say it all goes downhill.
Yeah, we try to flush at least half the city once a year, just to keep everything flowing. So, and camera, we try to.
And so
camera as
all
much
that
as
you
possible
already
as well.
replaced, where you can do the roundabout, that's just continuation down 3100.
Yeah, so we'd replace the water line. This is the sewer line.
Okay.
And the sewer
Well,
line.
I think
is
this is a great deal for Roy City for them.
Yeah,
to
no,
offer
we
yeah.
felt extremely fortunate because I'm
Yeah.
sure it probably saved us, I don't know, roughly $50,000.
Yeah.
Thank you for reaching
The only
out.
concern I would have would be is there possibility of having development that could take place on that corner lot?
So
Part
on
of
the
that's
west
in Roy.
side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would believe everything on the west side would probably tie into 6,000, but
Just drop-
I mean,
just
the
drop into
line's
6,000.
definitely big enough that it can take future development as well.
Okay.
So
Okay. Any other comments, questions, council?
sounds great.
Okay. With that, then, consideration of resolution 25-9, a resolution for Roy City Council authorizing an agreement between Roy City and Clinton City for the 8-inch sewer line from the county line to 6,000 South. Do I have a motion then to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Ann. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. This is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul, Aye. Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Resolution 25-9 is approved. Consideration of ordinance 25-4, an ordinance amending the Roy City Code Title 10 zoning ordinance, amending Chapter 19. Brody, I think you're going to help us on this one. Off-street parking and loading, general provisions, as well as exceptions, adding additional streets to the list. Why don't you lead us in this conversation?
Thank you, Mayor, Councils. I hope you remember, as indicated in the staff report, there was some presentations this past fall, I believe, about trailer parking on the side of the house. After council heard that was sent to Planning Commission along with a request to look at circular driveways or different entryways. Planning Commission took that. They held a public hearing only on the circular driveway, and they came back with a recommendation that you have before you. But what this does is it adds exceptions to essentially what would be your front setbacks and landscape requirements, and it adds streets that this Planning Commission felt needed the ability to have the circular driveway and/or the hammerhead is what we refer to it as. So the addition is to add 4,000 south, 4,800 south, 6,000 south, 3,100 west, and 4,300 west, which allows the circular driveway or the hammerhead. Planning Commission looked at it. They had favorable recommendations from it. It seems to make sense for not only a practicality use, but also a safety use to allow the circular driveway and/or the hammerhead. So happy to answer any questions on that I can.
Okay, council, any comments, questions?
So we're talking about when those people had their trailer parked on the wrong side of their house and rather than where their driveway was, is that where?
So these are separate.
Yep.
That's
They're
what
separate.
started
Yep,
it.
that's
and
what
then
started it.
That's
there
what
was a
started it.
recommendation to look at the trailer parking and this.
And then just to let people put a circular driveway in.
Or the hammerhead, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the trailer parking on the side of the house is still in Planning Commission, and we can have a discussion. And
Okay.
quite frankly, I'd like to have a discussion of what the council wants to do on that
Okay.
after we talk about this issue.
Okay, does that help? Because,
Well,
because the original tasking was to address, and I think, Diane, you held that meeting, I was gone, and the discussion was could there very well be a trailer parked in the front yard setback side of the house? And what materialized out of that was obviously this also. And so the only one you're going to be taking on with this discussion is just the one dealing with the circular driveway and that hammerhead driveway. So any other comments, questions?
Like I said, I'd like to have a discussion after about what we want to do about the
So, yeah,
trailers
focus
parking
this here,
specific,
yeah.
but we'll talk about this one first.
Okay.
I'm not smart enough to bounce back and forth, to be honest.
Okay.
On the proposed wording here for general provisions 10-19-2, it has under small 4 properties with less than 100 feet of frontage shall be limited to 1 driveway. Approach per frontage, 1 additional drive may be added for each additional 50. So to clarify, if you're 99.9 feet, you can have one drive entrance. But if you're 100, you can have 2. Now, the way it's worded, I just wanted to make sure, is that 100 to 150, you can have 2, and then after that, it's 3? I mean,
So you have to have 100 feet.
100 feet.
You get 1 per 100, and then every additional 50, you can have another one. So you have to have 150 feet to have 2.
to have 2, and then 150 after that, you could have 3, and that sort of thing, the way that's
3, you
worded.
would have to have 200.
Okay,
100
Oh,
originally,
I see,
50,
200.
and then
So-
50 more
so
to
you
get to
can
the
have
third one.
an additional driveway for every 50 feet past 100.
past
So if you have
150.
144, you still have 1.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So that's probably not really super helpful then, right?
Yeah, so that part of the ordinance wasn't changed
Yeah, that's
at all.
that-
That's been
Mhm.
like that for years.
So the circle driveway really isn't, so is there really any change to the circle driveway part of it,
Well, it
this
adds,
proposal?
the streets that it allows.
It's just the
on.
streets, but not a change to this. Now, so then my concern was, if this is a safety issue, which is what it sounded like it was, the hammerhead is still under that same subheading as it must be 100 or thereby 150 feet. When I emailed Steve, I said, well, because when I started looking and counting different lots that had what I thought was 100, but there were not very many, he said that the hammerhead can be on any sized lot. And I was just wondering, where is that then delineated so it's understood that the hammerhead could be on any side, any width of lot?
Well, so the hammerhead only requires 1 entrance.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
It's the entrance
So
requirement.
everybody that has a driveway can have a hammerhead.
And so as long as it's, okay.
And
and
that's
so-
why the planning commission put it in there, because a true circular driveway, you
Mhm.
have 2 entrances and egresses, so you have to have the 150 feet.
Is one of the 150.
Right.
And then, and this is only, again, hammerhead can still only be on those additional streets. We
On all
can't-
the streets listed in.
That are listed, but not in addition to any of that.
Correct.
Okay.
And why only those streets?
So the planning commission, quite frankly, looked and thought that those streets should be added, basically for safety reasons. Those are streets with more traffic
Just
that are.
More arterial.
Rather than backing out of your driveway,
Right.
you're in a circular driveway.
They said 4800 South is busy enough that you
Yeah.
don't have to back out of it anymore.
Plus.
Can you get a little closer to the mic,
Plus
Brody? Sorry.
also,
Yeah.
he has a bad back.
Just pull
I
the
know.
mic out and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Plus
game
also,
show it, no.
I figure people that maybe have their children living with them, it gives them additional parking too.
yeah, that was the intent of like the hammerhead
Yeah.
aspect of it.
So, hey, that sounds like a good idea to me, to give people, make it safer. Because I see people pulling out on 4800 and they're like waiting for the light to turn red. And then like, I gotta hurry and pull out into the island so I can head out this way. And if they had, the opportunity to put a circular driveway in, which some of them do on 4800.
And that's why the planning
Yeah.
commission had this discussion was.
Right.
The circular driveway, quite frankly, requires a minimum amount of space to be functional.
Right.
Correct.
And so if you don't have that frontage, the hammerhead allows you to back in and then be able to pull out onto whatever road.
Right.
So in follow-up to Ann's earlier comment is, what was their reasoning to not allow the hammerhead on throughout the city?
I think they basically just looked at that this was an exception to the general rule and what were the roads for safety reasons
Yeah.
that we say, these roads are busy enough that we should allow this.
Yeah, because
And
these
change
roads
the
are turning
front
more
yard.
into like your more arterial type
Right.
roads. Just
But
with
it
traffic
could
patterns.
certainly be, you know,
But
handy
like
and
on
helpful for the
2500, you know, I mean, if somebody came in and said, I want to put a circular driveway, and they just have to go through the planning commission to get that approval.
As long as they have the width, it's a width thing
yeah.
still. The width thing still exists.
And
So
get their
the-
permit, for
Right.
sure.
Because right now you can do a circular driveway on any UDOT road
Mm-hmm.
because then there's no like limitation, and this just basically expands that use case out to include more of our arterial roads. Your 48, your 31, your 6,000, 35. Well, 35 is UDOT, so you can already do that. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Any comments, questions on ordinance 25-4, council?
Nope.
We okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, with that then, do I have a motion then to approve ordinance 25-4?
So moved.
Thank you, Randy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. This is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Okay, ordinance 25-4 is approved. Thanks, Brody.
Mayor, if I
Okay,
can-
thanks, council.
If I can have a minute. So specific to the trailer parking issue that was taken to Planning Commission, if you read the staff report, that issue's been to Planning Commission multiple times, has never really gone anywhere. Planning Commission has not held a public hearing on that. I quite frankly can't really speak to why. But what I would like to know from the city council is this something that you guys just want to take up on yourselves, say the Planning Commission has had it for long enough, hold a public hearing and make your decision on it? Or do you want me to try and get Planning Commission to have a public hearing? I mean, the difficult thing is Planning Commission doesn't have to forward it on. They can table it and hold it indefinitely. You as the council are allowed to say, Planning Commission's had it long enough, we want it back. I would like maybe some guidance on that issue of what you want to see done.
Well, let's make sure we understand. If I remember right from the meeting conversation, the council directed the planning commission to take that issue up. And I think I just heard that they don't have to.
No. They've taken it up. They've talked
not doing
about it
anything
multiple
about it.
times.
Okay?
But they haven't held a public hearing and they haven't forwarded anything on to this body.
Recommendation.
So what I'm saying is under the state law, city council does not have to, if the planning commission has had it for long enough without
Yeah.
a recommendation to this body,
Yeah.
you can take it on yourself. Now, where this is a land use change, you would have to hold a public hearing because the planning commission hasn't. So I'm just asking, is this something you guys want to take up without a recommendation from planning commission? Or do we want to give planning commission more time?
Well, what if planning commission just doesn't ever do anything? What happens to those people?
That's why we're here.
Or do we, I mean, again, we're putting this out across, the public space. Let's give them another 30 days, and then if they haven't, then we'll take action.
Well, the action would basically is that you'll have the public hearing and then you will make the decision ultimately without their input.
Correct.
My only concern would be it is a land use issue.
100%,
And the
yeah,
law
so
is
it
very
has to-
clear
it has to go through the PC.
that planning commissions are responsible then to work land use issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little surprised that either they've got so much they're doing or they have chosen this is so sensitive that they don't want to address it.
And I know having gone and watched some of the planning commission meetings, they brought in fire to talk about fire
That's what I
concerns. And yeah, there have been multiple different
I would have thought that they would have had enough input to be able to make a decision, even to
yeah.
some popular as it may be. And remember, they're not making a decision, they're making a recommendation to the city council.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think what I heard was, and let's just make sure we give clear direction. Do you want to basically give them 30 more days to take this issue up and provide a recommendation back? Or do you simply just want to take it up and we will pull the information together and we will hold a public hearing and then we will make the final decision as a council?
Does 30 days give them enough time to do a public hearing?
No, it would need to be 60.
60
because
days?
We have
60 days.
to give the noticing and what would
Yeah,
put
the
us into,
noticing and-
we would have to have the public hearing in June.
So what I'm hearing is it needs to be at least 60 days.
60, yeah.
Council?
we've got enough on our plates over the next 60 days.
Can we say 90?
I think 60. I do think we need to.
I think we need to move
move
the- yeah,
forward.
we need to
So,
move-
I mean, I'm okay either way.
Yeah.
But I do think that we probably should take that step, and if 60 days is what they need. I was kind of up for the 30 days, but if they
Yeah,
need
like I
60.
said, but knowing that there's the whole notification process,
Right.
get them out,
Mhm.
there's a process that has to be followed,
Mhm.
so.
Well-
I'm
So,
I think 60.
I'm fine with 60.
Brian?
Moving at the speed of
Yeah.
government.
Okay, Dan? Okay,
I think we've got it.
Brody, just, this one I'm struggling with because this was a request that came from homeowners a long, long time ago. And it's dragged, and it doesn't need to be. Even if the conversation is hard, have the conversation and make a recommendation. My concern personally, council, is, and I don't want to bias you on this, but you've got a lot of homeowners, okay, by nature of the house they bought, oftentimes doesn't have a lot of space in their front of their yards, unless they're sitting on a corner or they happen to have something. No fault of their own. Now they've got their house paid for, and they would like to have a travel trailer or something, maybe a boat sitting on the front, but they don't have a place for it because they were never designed for it. It's sensitive, it's hard, but the question's going to be is what we don't know and won't have access until we find out more detail was what the chief, when he was asked to testify in front of that planning commission, talked about in terms of fire risk. And so having them, that information and us not, almost as a restart completely for us if we take this on ourselves. So I say 60-day extension's what you're asking. You seem to support that. But I'm saying to you is that, do I need to get a hold of the chairman of the planning commission and indicate to him it's his due diligence that he's responsible?
Well, I mean,
Do
if you,
this?
if you want to talk about moving at the speed of government, we just passed 25-4. I was first exposed to this whole notion of non-circular driveways, all this, when I started to run for city council almost 4 years ago.
Okay.
So, and we're just now passing what
Well,
I had worked
And
towards.
if you have that
Yeah.
conversation, I mean, I think it's fair.
Sure.
This has gone to planning commission, gone to council 3 different times.
True.
In 5 years and gone nowhere.
Correct.
So I'm not trying to
No.
start fights. I'm trying
no,
to,
no.
I have to swim on both.
You just have to swim in both
pools
lanes.
here.
Yeah.
But at some point, if planning commission, for whatever their reasons, if they don't have the hearing, if they don't forward a recommendation, if they table it, which they're allowed to.
Sure.
This body has the authority to take it back
pull it
and make
forward.
a
That's
decision.
correct.
thank you for, educating us on that. And we-
Yeah. My only concern, Brody, is simply this. We have delayed this a long, long time.
Which is-
It certainly has been in front, it originally came to the city council to address, and I can certainly pull the notes, but if we're not out there at least 6, 8 months,
Yeah.
this is just simply a recommendation.
Agreed.
And I would have thought when they had the chief in the meeting, and chief provided his technical assessment, that would have been at least the point they could have went into public hearing and made a recommendation back to the council. I'll be patient. I'm just saying is that they're all appointed. And as an appointed body, they need to work the issues that are facing the city. And specifically, council, they owe it to you to provide a response. You asked for them to do that, and they need to do that. That's their role and responsibility. Thank you, Brody. Okay? And we'll talk later whether or not I need to get a hold of the chairman.
Okay.
Or is it better said, chairperson? Discussion items. We got a number of discussion items, council, so let's walk through those. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep up with all of my notes. Council, if you remember, we had a conversation about, back in March, relative to whether or not we should establish a Roy City-wide survey. Now, it was mentioned earlier in the testimony that the city had surveys, one back in 2016. There was actually some that really went back into 1997. Then there was one in 2016, and the one in 2016 was conducted primarily by Weber State University. We approached them. They put their team together and helped us work through that one. There was one done in 2021. That was a focused one, specifically addressing some downtown development height issues. So we had that one that was done. And so we've had some surveys requirements. What we're asking you and what came out of the last meeting would be is, what would it cost and what are the milestones that we would be up against if we choose to do another survey? I think I provided in the worksheet some of the basic information. You need at least a minimum of 400 interviews. It was suggested over the mic today, why not anybody and everybody? If you're doing a survey, it doesn't have to be limited. And then it looks like it'll take 3 to 4 months to conduct the survey, and the cost is going to be approximately $19,000 if we choose to do a contractor, or we can choose, if we want to do it, to go back to Weber State University and see if they would conduct another one. Now, let me just summarize my comments. Surveys are interesting, but I think there's a testimony today, particularly some of the things that are taking place in the city today, that suggest is maybe we don't know exactly what the residents want. And what do they want on very particular issues? Now, surveys typically will say is that how's Matt doing? As a city manager, okay, how is his organization doing? And you can get feedback from the population to therefore ask them, how is each department working? What are their issues? What are their concerns? And it's good feedback because it will tell you what they believe or what they believe to be true. And I don't say that those are not important. They certainly are. But I will say to you, there may be a whole lot of other things that maybe you also would like to know. How do they feel about property tax increases? How do they feel about building heights? How do they feel about maybe having our recreation facilities closed on Sunday? I mean, there's a variety of things out there that you might find very interesting and want to know because you're making or proposing decisions that needs that kind of clarity. So the key would be is if you're going to say maybe we should have a survey, then I say, okay. Then I say, let's set it in motion, find out the best way to fund it, if it's going to be funded at all. And then whatever comes out of that survey, you do something with it. So ask the right questions. Otherwise, having a survey so you can check a box serves no purpose. It doesn't mean anything if it's not being used for this purpose. And so the key would be is that, and it's just a simple question. Do you believe there ought to be another survey done? It's been, the full citywide survey was done in 2016. And it asked a lot of questions. That's an awful long time, almost 10 years. Maybe
Almost a
longer.
decade.
Almost a decade.
But we got, 600 responses out of 6,000 or 800 responses? Or,
It was,
I mean,
yeah, I think it was 1,800 or 800. And they were able, through statistic analysis, they were able to determine within, I think they said a 3 to 4% accuracy across this. And they talked, if you don't have a copy of that survey, I certainly can send it to you. But it talked a lot of issues from, do we get another cemetery? What do we think about organizational structures? What do we think about this and that? It was pretty comprehensive. But it's 10 years old.
Were you able to contact the people at Weber State to see if they were still doing something like that?
I
Did you
wasn't.
have that number? Okay.
And yet, and the only reason why we had the discussion was simply the discussion that suggests is that professional organizations are able to generate the appropriate questions based on what you're looking for and do the analysis. It's not that I did not disagree with what came out of Weber State. I think they did a wonderful job, but did it get to the depth that we needed? Sure. And maybe the question is the questions were pretty simplistic and it really didn't have to go deep dive. I figure if the questions were very detailed and you needed to have a good analysis of what it means, then you need professionals to do that. But to your point, maybe Weber State has capabilities. A lot of the universities do. Certainly Utah State has a similar program. University of Utah has a similar program. Weber State just happened to be a good convenient. And to be honest with you, they're great to work with. And they did a really nice job. They handled the whole thing. Didn't cost us a dime.
Nancy Cullenwood. That's who we need to contact at Weber State, is Nancy Cullenwood.
I
Okay.
made several phone calls earlier, and then we were kind of waiting to hear back. But in a further phone calls today, the community outreach department does this sort of thing, and they help with the questions as well as the analysis, depending on how that works. But
Yep.
if, I think information is important, but the concern is, will we actually utilize the information, and do we actually ask questions? Because that, I think, sets up false expectations if the citizens answer questions, but because we didn't like their answers, it didn't match with us, then we don't do it. I think that's a commitment we need to make. And then if we could do it at a financially, feasible area, I'm just concerned about the 19,000 right now where we're having so many concerns. But I'm willing to make some further phone calls then and reach that out. And maybe, Mayor, you mentioned you might remember the name of the
Oh,
person. We
I
could do
have
that.
all those.
We could do it, and or if another university is up for it. I think if we are going to do it, then that would be a good way to pursue because of the cost, but also then I think we'd have to, as a group, commit that whatever that information comes out, hopefully we're thoughtful about the questions that we ask, and the questions will be worth something, and then we follow up by utilizing that information.
Hence the reason for this conversation. So what would you like to do?
So you guys all know me, I'm the tech guy. One thing that we have to our advantage that we didn't the last time we did the survey is we have lots better technology. I mean, we're talking trying to be price conscious. The temperature of anything can change and fluctuate over the course of time. We're talking about a one-time survey, or we can take and leverage a platform, say like SurveyMonkey, where for $92 a month, or, I mean, my math is bad, let's call it $1,000 a year, we can turn around and consistently go out and poll the pulse, and we can take and actually leverage AI, which we didn't have when these original surveys went out, and they can help us build good questioning, and then it can also help us go through and do like the analysis of the actual results. And we can go through and push it out through more of our broad social media channels. Let's say if the recreation department wants to go out and say, hey, what would you like to see from a Parks and Recreation perspective? We could turn around and give you access into that platform. Police, fire, same thing. They could go out and across their own different socials, take and put out their own different surveys. And so again, we could get a broader, deeper reach out into the broader community, and we could do it at a fairly cost-effective rate in comparison to like what we're talking about for the $19,000.
And and to get that, the idea of you have to have so many from certain different demographic regions, but we could pull that in, we'd know what it is and know where we need to further reach. Because
and that's the thing is we could
there are a
turn
lot
around,
of
as part of the survey portion, if you want to be part of the statistical model, you have to provide us with the address with which you're coming from to make sure we're actually getting, results back from, our constituents. And then secondarily, if we wanted to go broad and we wanted to go out and, put out surveys to like broader businesses to see, business types that may want to come into the city, we could take and leverage that same platform. So we have a lot more flexibility if we take and leverage technology to go through and do these types of surveys.
And then there's an option that some of the universities, Weber State, could help us, but then it wouldn't be so overwhelming for them.
Yep.
But they could help us make sure that the questions we ask aren't, leaning one way or the other. So it could be a combination, still cost conscious, but hopefully efficient. So I think.
Sophie, comments?
Is there, when you say SurveyMonkey, is there a limit on how,
So this one is an example. You can get up to 100,000 responses per year for that $92. So again, if you look at it, we had 800, let's call it 900 people take and respond to that one-time survey. But if we're consistently going out there and pushing these surveys out there, we at least can get a general temperature read for what is the hot button issue. I mean, we could take and do like, what do you guys want to see for Roy Days entertainment? Again, we have options that are available to us, and we could actually use this type of platform.
Because the last one we did was a mailer, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
Correct.
Because senior citizens that don't have computers, they would be left out of this survey. But I mean, some
still
seem,
do part of it that way.
Yeah,
I mean,
still-
you could push it out
part
with
of
your,
it that way, yeah. But I think that's a great idea to do
Well,
it
the,
with the
just-
technology that we have now to not use it. So
and that,
Yeah, to get to the 800 plus individuals that responded out of 12 districts that we divided the city up in, Some of those were not able to get the response from the district, and they actually went door to door and and collected it. So there was a kind of a unique ways by which they captured the information. Certainly that, and then you have to make sure that what they captured, as you indicated, Randy, came from Roy.
Correct.
Right.
Because certainly a lot of people may want to weigh in on that.
Right.
So, Brian, comment. What do you like to do?
Well, we could use a survey. I think based on tonight, there's some misconception, and we probably, if we're gonna do the survey though, we're gonna have to follow it.
Sure.
Okay. So here's what I think I'm hearing, and we'll kind of, unless you tell me something different, we'll take it. You seem to all be agreeable to having some form of survey.
Correct.
But skeptical at the $19,000 cost.
Right.
Leaving us then to maybe SurveyMonkey as an opportunity or going to the university. And I kind of like Weber State because it's home and it's local and would be probably appropriate rather than going to Utah State or one of the other universities. So if it's about the cost, then maybe what we can, we'll flesh this out one more time and look at the two options we talked about here. Get contact, see what's available, answer the basic questions, and then see what we can pull together and come back to you and see if we can give you what appears to be a plan that would be effective to meet your needs.
Can I make one more suggestion?
Please.
I mean, we're talking about going to the college, but a lot of seniors, university. Yeah, apologies. Yes, it used to be the college.
Used to be college.
Yeah, it used to be the college. My mom went to Weber State College. But anyway, the university typically has seniors that have to do some type of internship for their senior project.
Correct.
Why don't we take and go the SurveyMonkey route, bring in an intern over the course of the summer, and have them, we use whatever that $19,000 was that we were going to do and make it a paid internship, and they can go through and set this all up and do all this, because if you have somebody that's going into political science, this would be like a master class in understanding how, a city works and how to go out and, basically survey the
Okay.
citizens.
Well,
Just a thought.
I like the idea. It further validates if we can give you a choice, the SurveyMonkey, here's one option, and the versatility of as you defined it, and then maybe see what Weber State has now evolved over the last decade since the last time we worked with them to see what they're capable of doing. And you may find that a hybrid might be an option too. Let's bring two options to the table and possibly a hybrid, and then let's see which way we want to go.
And I'm a little concerned about the money because the whole concept is we're trying to use that money other places. And when I was calling about senior projects, certain fields need them, and then that would not need to be a paid internship. It could be a project, and or it could just still be that outreach department where they combine it. So I think
I'm
that
just
sounds a
saying,
good
like,
combo.
I would say like a college student would be more inclined to do a paid internship. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just even a stipend. I mean, again, we're talking $19,000. We give you a $5,000 stipend for a 4-month internship, and it requires you to do 20 hours in the office a week. And as part of that, you go through and you help to build the surveys. You could also help us to turn around and better figure out how to market the city, yada, yada, yada. Stuff like that is kind of where, I'm thinking.
And I
But-
guess we have to find somebody that would do it first and then talk
Correct.
about it then. So.
Correct, yeah.
We'll go ahead. Matt, before we make any final commitments, you have any comments along this?
No, I think there's some real value in a survey. I think some of the issues that a lot of people had with the last Y2 survey is the cost, and then just understanding statistics. The value with statistics is getting that unbiased opinion and getting, a good quality sample. But then a lot of people were upset because they didn't have the opportunity to take that survey. And so there's pros and cons on each way. It kind of depends on what you're wanting out of the survey too. But there is a very high cost when we do hire that out. So you're right on that.
Yeah, and I think what you're paying for is you're paying for expertise in terms of development of the questions and analysis of the outcomes. And it's really important to make sure, council, that if in fact we are going to use that as a tool for us to be able to make decisions as a council, that there's some accuracy in the data that's been interpreted. And sometimes they'll do that by asking the same question 3 or 4 different ways by which they can verify whether or not that's it, and then making sure they get the data centric to Roy City and not some other place. So let's see what we can come to. We won't finalize this tonight, but it becomes clear this is about cost, but it's also about providing possibly longevity. So it's not just a one-time and done. And then maybe how we can capitalize on Weber State University, and maybe they've matured to a point where now they're just doing it pretty routine. And if they have some skills and abilities, we surely should capture that. Okay, then we'll take an action on that, and we'll bring this back to you. Next one's going to be a discussion item on 5600 light. Okay, this is the light poles. Brandon, share your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so you guys are probably aware, you've probably seen some of the light poles come up on 5600. They're galvanized. I like the look of black, but it's ultimately you guys' decision if we want to opt to paint those. To paint the 30 that's up and an additional 36 comes into roughly around $80,000, which we could use Class C funds with that, which obviously wouldn't interfere with the general fund. So just kind of wanted some direction what you guys would like to do.
How long does the black paint last?
Forever. So we painted the Roy High signal arms, I believe, roughly close to 20 years ago, 15 plus. They've been painted for quite a while, so indefinitely.
I just want to make sure, Council, we're at a pinch point right now. 5600 is going to be completed for all practical purpose by the end of this year. There'll be some other things that have to be done, some tune-up stuff, but Brandon's under the gun to make sure that everything is set and whatever betterments are going to be done, we got those in place, because right behind that, he's having conversations on widening at 3500, and he's now having to define the betterments in terms of what's going on that street. Both of these UDOT projects, as you're aware of. You can leave them galvanized, or you can basically paint them black. Is that what I just heard?
Yep, purely aesthetic.
And the choice then is yours. This is 5600, just about to be completed. What do you want to do? And he needs some direction so he can make sure it happens.
Well, I think, because I called Brandon today, because I said, make sure you tell everybody where the money's coming from and where the Class C fund money comes from, gas tax. And of course, I think that they would look really nice painted black, just to go along with all those on 1900, and it's a Roy High color. I mean, I just think rather than galvanized steel, and you have enough money to do that, and it wouldn't take away from anything else that we're doing with the city, I just think it would make it look really classy and nicer than galvanized steel, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
I mean, because we can't use that money for fire or police or anything else, only can be used for things like this, or I would say no. But I'm kind of like Brandon. I just think it would look nicer, make 5600 look classier and nicer too. That's my opinion, so.
I have a question. Does UDOT pay for any other city, or is it?
No, so they pay for the light pole itself, but then any type of powder coating is a betterment, and that's what you've noticed in other cities is they step up to the plate.
I've seen them do
as well
black.
as like Clinton City. You probably see all their flower boxes. That's all on Clinton City. That's considered a betterment.
Okay.
And so it's powder coating. That's, as I say, because I was
Well,
trying to figure out
so
the
and
cost.
that brings up
They
a valid
rust
point.
if you
is-
don't put something on them, right?
Yeah, somewhere along the lines, because that was an option like on the other projects we've had, is they usually give you a powder coating option. But now with them already stood, it more than doubles the costs because they'd have to pull them down, go have them powder coated. So like I said, and it's an epoxy paint. So like I said, it'll last probably
So-
my lifetime.
My lifetime.
Yeah.
Are the streets dark skies compliant? Are the street lights dark skies compliant? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and answer that one.
Yeah, you didn't come prepared for that
Yeah,
one,
no,
Brandon.
I'm not going down that road.
All right, cool.
We're
So
not.
what else would that $80,000 be used for if we don't?
So Class C money is basically your transfer, like your road funds. So anything to do with paving roads, roundabouts. Yeah, just anything basically to do with the roads.
And that's the only place it can be paid. You
Yeah.
can't, you can't use Class C road funds for anything else.
Do you have this much money set aside that's not being used or utilized for anything else, like potholes or, you know what I mean?
Another trick question.
Wow, yeah.
That-
That's
So,
back into that one, Brandon.
yeah, I mean, and that, I don't want to go too far down the hole, but that's the rough part we have right now is our water lines infrastructure is severely behind. So the issue we're having now is we have money to pave roads, but we don't want to go pave roads and have to dig them back up to replace the water lines. So we're kind of held back to a certain amount. Yes, we can obviously use them. Like I know that's kind of been the priority with me lately is I'm trying to update all of our roundabouts to cement because the asphalt doesn't hold up. Anybody that's been on our roundabouts can probably see the condition they're in. So that's kind of where we're utilizing the money now. But that is, like, yes, we can definitely use it elsewhere, but that's the other thing we're up against is our water lines. And I don't want to be the guy that goes in and paves a brand new road and then comes back and digs it all up to replace a water line.
That's fair.
You know, two-tone's kind of an in thing, you know, you're going into people's new homes, they got two-tone, one color on the
Yeah, right.
bank, the top, so two-tone
Okay.
is kind of in.
What
Now-
what does an average pothole cost to fill if you were just to spitball? Again, you didn't come prepared for any of this, and I usually don't like throwing these questions out there
Yeah,
without
I mean,
prepping.
between my guys' wages and the cost of asphalt, I mean, you're probably $30, like probably not even that high, probably 10 or 15. I mean, asphalt is, I believe, $60 a ton.
Okay.
And we can fill a lot of potholes with a ton of asphalt.
Okay.
So is gas, so you get all your money from taxes from gas.
Mm-hmm.
And so approximately how much do you get a year from that?
Oh, Class
or
C,
a
we get,
month?
I believe she had it on there, it's $1.7 million this year.
Yep.
Now, will the galvanized hold up well as
Yes.
also?
Yes, galvanized will also. It's
just all
pure,
look.
purely aesthetics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm big on aesthetics. I think we got a big, nice new road. I would like it to look nice, but again, it's purely aesthetics.
Right.
All right.
How many is it? How many?
So there's 66
66
total.
total.
Okay.
66,
Oh, that's for 66.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're roughly about $1,200 a piece to paint.
Okay.
Yeah, 12.
To paint them.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And that means they'll be painted, if they're already mounted, they'll paint them while they're
They'll
mounted.
paint them in place, and then that's kind of like the mayor said. We're kind of up a time crunch as well because it saves us about $200 a pole to paint them on the ground. So we have 36 on the ground that we could paint, and saves us roughly 10%.
Do it again.
And on the road where there's not traffic right now, so you can
Yeah.
get to them where
Yeah.
they're, before
Right.
you get ran over.
It's a timing issue, and it's a completion of this project issue. So, council,
All right.
it comes down to this. Do you want him to spend $80,000 to get all those 66 units down 5,600? Or do you want to leave them as they are?
So again, I go back to the potholes thing. Let's just call it $20 per pothole. You could fill 4,000 potholes with that $80,000.
Okay.
Or
He has-
66 light poles at 12. 12, 12, 12 is exactly what it equates to.
Okay, and so we'll derive from that comment what? What do you want us to do?
So you wouldn't propose it if you didn't have the money, obviously, to do it. You're not gonna go in the hole and potholes aren't gonna get filled if you paint the light poles, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So
All right.
Well, I kind of like the two-tone, so and I kind of like saving money. So I'd probably do the save the money kind of thing because, you know,
And
I think a
it's-
pothole filled is more exciting to me. But although I do like two-tone too, so
Okay, well, just
that's
remember
probably
that the
that's my-
potholes will be filled on 56 should be UDOT.
yeah, right.
All the other potholes everywhere else.
Well,
are-
and
are
and
brand
I
new.
hope that anybody that sees a pothole calls it in because there's no reason a pothole shouldn't be filled. So.
Bingo.
I was just gonna say I drive around the city a lot and I have not noticed any big potholes. So
Okay.
good
I'll
job.
send you an email
We
later.
we
Oh,
got
that-
a couple that we are going to address actually tomorrow. We've had some weather issues, so we have not been out filling potholes.
Well, a
so
lot of
there
the
is a
holes
couple
are
that will
from
get
UDOT.
filled
They're going
tomorrow.
through an intersection and it's a dip.
And what would you like to do?
I must live in a different city.
Paint or not
Well,
paint?
I want to paint them just because I think it would look nicer, and Brandon said that it wouldn't take away from anything else he'd be doing in the city, has plenty of money, be getting more again each year with the taxes. If we could have used that money for any other departments or anything else, and the, you know, and the roads will be pothole filled and everything will be taken care of, I think it would just look really nice. So I would vote to have them painted.
Perfect.
Sophie?
Sophie?
Just before the road is completed, because then it will be a pain to do
Yeah,
it.
I think the same. It's cheaper right now to do it.
It's the only time.
Yeah.
Get it while we don't have
And
anybody
it's
that's in
not
the
coming
way.
out of any general fund.
No.
Absolutely.
No general
Right.
fund involved. Okay, Randy?
As long as you can tell me potholes will be filled and this money isn't going to be used elsewhere, I do like Councilmember Wilson's, two-tone idea, but the aesthetic pleasure that I would get from just seeing a solid black would be fine.
Okay, I think I got out of that. Randy, you're supportive of it.
I'm in support.
Brian? Paint or no paint? We're okay.
To be consistent, I'd say no paint.
Okay, so we got 3 that indicates paint, 2 says don't paint. Brandon, you got a very short window to get them painted, okay?
Perfect. We'll get them done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
It's going to look
Brandon.
nice.
We do have an interlocal agreement with Weber Human Services. Matt, you're taking this lead.
Yep.
This one's complex.
Thanks, Mayor. As you know, the last time we talked a little bit about this in city council meeting, it was more about the funding of the Roy Senior Center. The ask is basically the $4,000 from Roy City in addition to, the facility and different things. And then also go out to Hooper and West Haven City to see if they would contribute as well. The answer was yes, so we would contribute the $4,000. And then Hooper and West Haven also said that they would contribute $4,000. So we've been waiting for this interlocal agreement for some time now. When it came, I did have a couple of issues with it. I initially saw the interlocal agreement being a relationship with us and Weber Human Services and Weber Human Services with the other municipalities surrounding us because it is their program. When it came, it did say that Roy City would be obligated to the $12,000 and not just the $4,000. There's a little bit of a workaround that we could do. I think Hooper and West Haven would both be okay with agreement with Roy City for that extra $4,000, but it does put a little bit extra liability on Roy City to collect payment, anything like that. I think they're good for their money, but basically it's just not our program. And so I did address that issue as well as another issue that I had with the interlocal agreement. With that $4,000, they did have an annual CPI increase to that, as well as a 3% increase to that, which I think, every program is going to cost more money. I totally get that. But I felt like it was just a little bit lopsided because the CPI 3% wasn't on the Weber Human Services side that they were contributing as well. So I just felt like it was a little lopsided on that end as well. So I did address this with Weber Human Services. And in your council packet, you can kind of see the reply. Their hands are a little tied. They're not a taxing agency. They get money mainly from the federal government for these programs, and that's where they get the money. I can only imagine what's going on with the federal funds and those programs too, that I can't imagine them going up. So I do get where they're coming from. And that's kind of why they did that. And then they also they also said they wanted to stay consistent with the other cities. So the other cities, North Ogden City, Washington Terrace City, they have all agreed to this and then get the contributions from the other cities as well. So they just wanted to stay consistent with that. I did put this as a discussion item to kind of get your guys' thoughts and feelings on this. But I can definitely reach out to Hooper and West Haven and get that going too, and we can adopt this all in the same night if that's what you guys wanted to do. But I did want to address the couple of issues that I did have, that I did address them with Weber Human Services. So, but anyway, just wanted to gather your thoughts as well.
Comments, council?
Well, so Weber Human Services, they'll still be providing the meals and then by them giving us by Hooper and West Haven gave us each $4,000. They'll probably advertise that, and maybe we'll probably get more people coming from those cities
Yeah.
too, huh?
Certainly.
And so we can handle that, I assume.
Yeah, we have the
more.
capacity. And they do provide the meals. They're going to provide the same services over there. So, yeah, they're going to administer the program, things like that we have discussed before. So that was all consistent.
Okay.
Other comments?
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned that, the two things you've mentioned, it's basically on a principal basis. Here, we aren't able to do a 3% increase for our staff, and we've got a CPI, and even though it's a small amount, where do we draw the line for principal a fundamental principle versus not? And I think on some contracts, at least what I've done, you just redline. I mean, can we just redline that part? We accept the contract other than, that annual increase. I don't know that that's appropriate for us. We can't see that in the future. We can't even do that for our own situation. And the other thing would be, it would be nice to be consistent, but in the past, North Ogden's already done at Pleasant View. They've got a working relationship in regards to that. I believe that they can do that contract with Hooper and West Haven. I think you've brought up excellent points, Matt. And I guess now it just comes down to how tight do we hold to the principle versus, because we need to be consistent, I think, amongst what we do as a city. And redline.
Comments? Well, I think, Diane, to your point, when we first went down this path, it was really trying to simply say, keep the senior center functions within the Weber Human Services. What we would provide is we would provide the facilities, the infrastructure. We will do the things we need to do to allow them to exist, and they would then manage it. They ask us, Matt and I, to engage with the other cities, specifically West Haven and Hooper, to invite them to be part of it, because we had documentation indicating their residents were attending, this Roy Hillside Senior Center. And so we had it all worked out. We had it all planned. Signed up an agreement, get a memorandum agreement between each of the cities, and they direct their funds not to Roy, but directly to Weber Human Services, which would be the collecting agency in behalf of that, because the money's going to be spent by them. It's not certainly going to be spent by us. Well, this was a wrinkle, and after we pushed them a couple of times to basically get a memorandum agreement, they gave us one, and in essence it says, Roy City, you manage it. And they do it because that's what Washington Terrace does, that's what North Ogden does, and the bottom line is that they want us to do the same thing. Okay, I have the same concerns. Now we manage it. It becomes our managing. We manage the funds. And they have a good argument. They just don't do this. They're not taxing any. But I guarantee you they manage their funds. And they could manage this just as easy. But the problem is that they want us to be consistent. And to be blunt with you, a lot of the things that's happened in this, in large part, is because Roy City was different. We held to our principles, your point. And so everything changed. The senior center program has changed in large part because I think Roy City held to its principles, and it should, because our principles suggest this should be managed by Weber Human Services and not the municipality. I can live with this, Matt, personally, if we just simply have to reach out to each of the cities and have them direct their funds to us, and then we collect those funds, manage those funds, and then direct those Weber Human Services. I think that's fine. We can do that. I think it's an unnecessary step, and it certainly doesn't bring connection, in my opinion, Weber Human Service to those cities. It now puts the connection between us and them. And remember, all we're doing is housing it. We don't manage anything.
And we're already donating $85,000
a year
to
to maintain it. And Brandon, your team basically supports them. And if there's a broken part, you're in there, you're fixing it. If they need some awning on the building, you put it on there. If you got to put a new roof on it, you put that roof on it. There's a lot of things that we do to maintain that facility, and for good reason. We're talking about our senior centers. Right. Our senior citizens need that kind of opportunity. I think, to my opinion, is that's home to them. Right. They enjoy more out of life probably meeting at that center than they do at home, and oftentimes they're by themselves.
And then they meet there for coffee in the morning, and then some of them, that's their only meal they get daily and don't even have
Exactly.
money to pay for it, so.
So it's a great resource. And if all we have to do is just simply give in this little bit, then maybe we give in. But I don't like it.
Yeah.
It was not what we wanted. And it certainly goes to the principals, Diane. But here's what I'm saying. Can the council basically go past the principal and simply says, this is about our seniors? And it's not interesting just ours. We've got West Haven, we've got people. You'd like to know the details? We got people from Davis County attending our facility. It's that good. So for those in the senior centers, and be honest with you, I think I'm one of them, it's a great program.
Yeah.
And I think we need to just focus on the benefit rather than the challenges that we face from this, because I struggle with this one. If I had my way, I'd say no. But by saying no, it messes us up, and it can't have an impact. My recommendation is, let's just support it the way we Human Services ask us, and let's just move on. And recognize the benefit of this whole thing is really to those people who benefit so much from it. Comment, Diane.
Can you review with us what the dollar amount of this would be that they're asking in regards to the increases and that sort of thing?
So our portion would be I'm guessing we would send that CPI 3% over to the other agencies as well.
Yeah.
CPI isn't something that we have offhand, but I'm guessing it would be around the 3% too. So for the $4,000 plus, the 3% is $120 bucks a year. So the other thing about this contract, it's a very short-term contract.
3 years.
I think it's only 3 years.
Yep.
So it's
So
not
it's-
a substantial amount of money, even if you double that CPI, because CPI is usually around a COLA or something.
So 3% for the CPI, 3% for the increase, so that's about $240.
Yeah.
$240 a year, $240 a year.
And at this moment, we run it for 3 years. After 3 years, it'll be back here for renegotiations or discussion,
consideration.
and the city council will have to approve it.
Yep.
So 720
Brian, comment?
I have a comment, but I shouldn't. So, well, we just spent $80,000 to paint streetlights. I think that we need to support the senior population.
Well, I wish we could take that $80,000 and give it towards the seniors, but we can't by law.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Class C funds. Okay, are you okay then to go ahead and move what House Matt says? He reaches out to the city managers of each of the organizations and basically works whatever type of memorandum agreement we have to work with them to get this started. Are you okay with this? Yep. I mean, I don't like it, Diane. I agree with everything you just said. It just doesn't make sense to me after we've worked this thing almost a year.
And the
Maybe
fact
longer.
that none of those people that work for Weber Human Services, like I've talked to one of the county commissioners, have never visited our senior center
I
and
know.
even see what we do. So that's frustrating.
I understand. Okay. You okay? I don't want to. Are you okay, Sophie? You okay with that? Brian, Diane, kinda.
I don't think I'm okay with $720, but I think I'm okay with the way it's written.
Okay, because the way the principal
Right.
thing, and I agree with you on
So
that.
I'm not okay
Ann?
with that.
Right. I mean, I think we have to do it for our seniors. So we can't, we're kind of
Okay.
stuck. And I think that Weber Human Services knew that we were going to be like this because we have to think of our seniors. So.
Okay, let's go ahead, let's move with it the way you've defined it. Reach out to them and just indicate we'll work to coordinate that. But we don't have to agree with it. Okay. And it's only this piece that we don't have to agree with.
Right.
A lot of other things got changed the way they need to be, but this piece struggle with it. So you're not alone, Diane, okay? City manager and council report. Matt?
Yes, we are partnering with the Daughters of the American Revolution for a flag retirement ceremony at Municipal Park on June 14th at 5 p.m. The Parks and Recreation Building is going to be a collection point for these flags. So if you know anybody or have any flags yourself that you wanted to retire, or if you just want to participate in the event, June 14th at 5
Where's that
p.m.
going to be?
At Municipal Park.
Municipal.
Yep.
And by next to Municipal Elementary, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
This
2200.
is just kind of a save the date. Every year we do the annual day of service. That's going to be held on August 23rd at 9 a.m. Just kind of put that in your calendars. We're kind of going through different projects right now, seeing what we want to do for that project. On May 12th, the roundabout is going to be started. So 6,000 South and 3,100 West will be closing down again. It will take approximately 60 days. So watch for that on May 12th. Also on May 12th through May 17th, we're going to have the dumpsters open again at Parks and Rec, at Public Works. That's Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also coming up, a couple of us in the city has a monthly meeting with the SR 108 project. That's going to be held. We're going to have another meeting, a follow-up meeting on May 14th at 11. If you have any questions or anything that you wanted to have us follow up on, please just let us know. So that's the 3,500 West.
That's 3,500 West. Okay. Not 56.
They're going to be, they're really talking, I think when the presentation came, they said that they liked calling it SR 108 because it changes in Clinton, and that project does go into Clinton City, so.
Yep.
Also, the Children's Justice Center is going to have a grand opening on May 22nd at 10 a.m. So I haven't had the opportunity to see the facility. They do a lot of great things for our community. And then also wanted to announce that we did receive an easy ramp grant for the adjustable backboard systems at Roy Junior High School. There's the old gym there that we're going to put some new basketball hoops so we can raise and lower for our recreational program. So that's in the amount of $2,000. So thank you, Ramp. So that's all I had to report.
Okay, perfect. Council, anything you want to share before I have something? Brian?
Yeah. Wheezy Eames has been named the Grand Marshal for Roy Day's Parade. So
Who's that?
Wheezy Eames is
Wheezy.
heavily involved with the car show.
Yep.
And the car shows that come to Roy Days.
Oh, awesome, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah,
You
normally.
gotta love Wheezy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a
her
great
my and her husband and my husband. He just passed away, and my husband was a hot rodder, and so they're great
Cool.
people.
They're
Yeah.
nice people.
Okay, anything else?
I just had a couple things to say. Just shout out to the complex. I met with a friend the other day, and her husband had a horrible accident, so they're going there for rehabilitation every day. And she's told other friends about it that don't live in our city, but now they are coming to this pool every day. And she said, I can't tell you what a nice facility that complex is. Nicest pool. I mean, every time we come, it's just the water's perfect temperature. It's just so well taken care of. The lifeguards and everyone there is so friendly. And just, I want you to mention it at your city council meeting because I don't know what we'd do without the complex. It's just so nice. And then I wanted to give a shout out to, we went to the police banquet a couple weeks ago. And for all of you that maybe wasn't able to stay to the very end, they had a video that they put together, and some of the things that those police and our fire do, some of the things that they have to take home with them every night, and the things that they see. And in that video, it was just so heartwarming, and I don't know how. I don't think we pay our firemen and our policemen enough to deal with the tragedies and the horrible things that happen in families that we have no clue about. And then those people I was talking to my good friend who's really good friends with one of our Roy firemen, I won't say his name, and he's witnessed so many horrible things that he just has to go to counseling for it. It's just very hard for them. So I just want, I wish everybody was here from the beginning to tell them how much we should be so proud of our fire department and our police department. And that video at the end was just, it brought tears to my eyes just to know what they go through to keep our kids safe and our citizens safe. And so anyway, I just wanted to give them a shout out also.
Okay.
And I just wanted to jump in, and we've had top spot on the news the last little while quite a bit. And I just really have been admired our police officers that are on the news and the way they handle it and the way they explain it. I think that's excellent. And I've heard great feedback on the spotlights for the fire people
On the
because
Facebook, yeah.
I've heard people talk about how they really like that and they think that's excellent. So thank you for doing that. So the extras, you're going the extra miles, I think is very nice, and that the whole education is very helpful. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great comments. Anything else?
Yeah, just to echo Ann's sentiment as far as like the police banquet, thank you for the honor of inviting us and allowing us to participate with you and your staff. And then again, that video was, again, if people understood what police and fire do behind the scenes day in and day out, again, to Ann's point, I don't think anybody would hesitate for any type of tax increase, knowing that the vast majority of that is going to you and your collective departments. So again, thank you all again for the opportunity to participate and come out and honor your command staff, and let Mondo know that I've already had a chat with Chief Williams, and if he does want to go to fire, we might be able to make something work for him. So, inside joke.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. And we haven't had a chance to talk about the Easter egg hunt. Oh my gosh. I have had so many cool inputs from that. And anyway, that was a winner. That change up, that was a winner. So I hope we can continue that. The lines of kids that were waiting to get on the trucks. And just thank you so much to Public Works for having those there. The kids absolutely loved it. And it was really fun to hear their excitement as they were getting on and the staff working with them. So that's a winner, and I just think that should be the new tradition. Yep.
Agreed.
That was great. Thanks to Public Works, just being there involved with it was helpful.
Okay.
And
Great
I loved
comments.
the entrepreneur, the children's.
Yes.
That
Yep.
was really
That was
fun.
really good.
That was
really awesome.
I was excited to see everybody purchasing and pay, because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if people are going to say, "Oh, that's just no." There was a few lines of some cute trinkets.
Obviously, we're doing some great things here in Roy. Okay, thank you. Great comments. A couple of comments, if you don't mind. Memorial Day recognition event that's going to be at the City Cemetery on the 26th of May at 9:30. If you're not out of town, come join. Okay, the little celebration we have over there to our veterans as part of Memorial Day. And the Legion is going to basically perform that, and we need your help to go ahead and put the flags on the crosses, okay? Flags on the crosses.
Yeah.
That's going to start at 9:30 on Memorial Day, the 26th of May.
I always try to make that.
Is
Also-
that the flags as well, or is that just the
No, they have
ceremony?
the crosses already on
crosses
there. We
are-
just put the flags in the little.
The night before. They haven't asked for that one.
Oh, okay.
But they really like to get us and the public out, if we can, to join them, because they have things they put on the crosses, and it's just a great event. Two last things. Council, I mentioned to you, if we have things we'd like to do, we'd like to bring it here and make sure that you're agreeable to that. I have a resident who lives on a dead-end street, a cul-de-sac, and they're getting a lot of cars driving down there and turning around, not realizing that it's a dead end. And the resident has asked if it's okay if the city can put a sign on the stop sign reminding them as they turn in that in fact it's a dead end.
See those all over the city.
We do. It's just not at this location.
Oh, yeah.
Are you okay if we work with, Matt and I work with Brandon, and we just get an address and have them stick a sign up there to tell people that, hey, you don't have to drive in here?
5,600 in that little.
Well, it could be.
Okay,
I mean,
'cause that's
I
where I
got to
go
get the
immediately.
address now. Once you're okay with it, I'll do the connection and make it work. But if you're okay with that, I'd like to make
Right.
that proposal.
For sure.
Yeah, because it'd be frustrating when you drive down a road and you're like, why do you have a dead end sign?
And it's
So,
dead end, and they
it's
get a
a
lot of people turning around the cul-de-sac, and it's a small cul-de-sac. So if you're okay, I'll go ahead and move with Matt on that, and Brandon, if you can help us. Last but not least, just want to mention it to you. Matt and I got a request today to go meet with Governor Cox. And we're not going to be alone, but the issue is going to be housing. We'll let you know what the outcome of that conversation is going to be, but just be aware, this whole issue that we face and a lot of municipalities are facing, and I don't know where the governor's going with this. We're going to try to get together and kind of work out a strategy to figure it out. But the bottom line would be is that some of the mayors and city managers have been requested to be in his quarters down there, and we're going to talk about housing. And we're going to try to address the way by which the state is going to move forward to deal with it. It should not be as a big secret to you, but the bottom line is he needs 35,000 housing units in the next 5 years. That's what he's telling the press. That's what's on his website, 35,000. Anyway, our meeting's the 29th of May. Our plan is to be there. Our plan is to prepare, and our plan is to be very vocal. I think Roy City has done a lot of things to get us there, and we're doing other things, but we certainly cannot do this alone, and 35,000 is a pretty big step, but we're going to hear a lot. So I'm just going to tell you, and in your other hat, Chief, I can't help to think that probably, I would have thought they would have probably invited some key players to this conversation. I know you've been working this from the legislative side. We just got it today. Don't know the details. We're going to come back and we're going to have a public meeting and we'll tell you everything you need to know about what happened, okay?
Are you going to be there?
Okay, well, we just got it. So when you get home, you might find something there. I don't know. Anyway, it kind of caught us off guard. Any other comments before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. Second?
Second.
That's Brian. Thank you, Brian. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I think I heard
you heard everybody.
I heard everybody. Okay, thanks. We got a good meeting, got a lot of things done. Thank you. And thank you for providing inputs.